right, good evening, everyone. This is the Air Conservation Commission meeting, Thursday, February 27th, 2020. Confirmation of agenda?
The agenda is fine as it stands.
As it stands. Motion to approve agenda as written?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes, which is like a novel.
Revision, revised version.
Any discussion on the minutes?
Jazz. Sorry. What are the jizz? Was it 7:20 or 7:15?
7:15.
It was 15. Okay.
Yeah, and I put in a line about
The
the,
44.
yeah, did you get to see it?
I didn't.
Page 7.
It was deep in there.
And through in line, tree topping in the southeast corner, topping to a height of 40 feet, is now proposed only in the 25 to 50 foot buffer zone area. Topping is measured from ground level of solar array plateau.
Thanks.
It was a good point. I actually wasn't quite sure.
Any other discussion of the minutes? Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. Beautifully written. Are there any announcements this evening?
I have two announcements. The Nashua River Watershed Association is having their auction online starting March 17th. And if you have any goodies you would like to donate to them for the auction, you can do that before March 1st. And then they're having their auction gala on March 28th. So, and beautiful, beautiful graphic.
Could I see that for 1 sec?
Yep.
It's just easier.
Yes. There you go. Second announcement is about the conference on Saturday for those of us who are going. And the third announcement is about this forest adaptation webinar series that you should have in your packet. Marion Stoddard and I listened to the forest carbon management webinar, which was the first one in the series. And I'm going to try to see if we can send the webinar to the Mondo pad. It was really fun watching it together with somebody in my office, and I think these are topics that other people might enjoy watching in a group.
How long are they?
They're just an hour. And I think if you guys have time at lunch, that you might enjoy them too. It's a nice series. And that's all I've got for announcements.
Good. Thank you. Accounts payable?
Not a single one.
Not a single one.
No.
Moving right along. The first item of business this evening is a presentation by Solitude. If you would join us, please.
Yes.
How are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you guys?
All right. Could you say your name for the...
Sure. Dominic Maringola, environmental engineer with Solitude Lake Management. I've been working on the air ponds forever. I think I've been with the company for 25 years, and I think I probably worked on the ponds my first year, I would venture to guess. So 2019, we again worked on Sandy Pond, Flanagan Pond, Fletcher's Pond, and Pine Meadow Pond. We've been pretty consistently managing the ponds annually now since 2017, I believe it was, whereas before we were kind of treating, managing, skipping a couple of years. And so I'll start out with, so basically the programs include filing Massachusetts DEP permits for any treatments that we would do, pre-treatment inspections, various treatments based on the target species in the ponds, and a post-treatment inspection, and then the year-end report that's done on an annual basis. So we'll start with, I guess, Pine Meadow Pond. This year the plan was to manage curly leaf pondweed, variable water milfoil, and 2 non-native species in the ponds. That was conducted, and the treatment was conducted with a dipot herbicide. We returned later in the fall, later in the summer, just to manage certain areas of water lilies, just to try to maintain some open water. Kind of down by the dam and up into the middle of the pond, whereas we've consistently over the years been leaving the back end and the lilies along the wooded shorelines as habitat area. Happy to say that at the end of the year there was no curly leaf pondweed or variable milfoil, so I think the lilies were well controlled as well, so I think that's fairly good success story at Pine Meadow Pond. Flanagan's / Fletcher's Pond, same kind of plan, was to manage variable milfoil curly pondweed with dipot, come back and treat some lilies. So 2 things that I guess are concerned. The treatments work very well on the milfoil and the curly leaf pondweed. You may remember we had been going after another invasive plant, fanwort, for a couple of years, both with the whole lake treatment and then with some spot treatments by the inlet near Sandy Pond. This based on the 2018 results, we really had no plans to go after fanwort this year. There was none observed in the pre-treatment survey, very little observed in the 2018 post-treatment survey. So there was no fanwort management. Unfortunately, we did have a few coves along the southern shoreline, and then the cove near the outlet where we found some growth finally appear this fall, late summer, so that's going to have to be something we plan for.
Where were those locations again?
There's a map actually in the report. I don't know if you have a copy of that.
Just say what you just said.
Yeah, kind of little, I don't know if I even call them coves, the kind of indentations on the southern shoreline. I guess one of them is near, I don't know if it's near the pump house. Yeah, one of them's kind of to the west of the pump house area. One is a cove a little bit further onto the east side, right before it really starts to open up. And the other bigger area, I think, was really the outlet cove in the southwestern part of the pond. So managing fanwort, I think we all know we've always used the herbicide Fleur down there. We've talked about using flumioxazin, which is the only other herbicide that really works on fanwort, but there's issues with endangered mussels, I believe. I don't know, are they actually in Flanagan Pond? I'm not sure, or if they're in the area. So we've, you know, when we do the whole pond, fluoridone is definitely the way to go. It's systemic. When you start trying to do smaller areas of management, it's a little bit harder to keep the herbicide in concentration high enough and long enough to affect control. So that's where the flumioxazin herbicide is quicker acting. It's a contact herbicide. It's easier to use in small coves, but I really not sure if we would be able to get that approved with natural heritage or not. I know we talked a little bit about this last year. It's a really good tool for kind of managing that regrowth when it comes back. So, I mean, does any of the commissioners know for sure if there are mussels, enlisted mussels actually in Flanagan Pond, or if it's in the upstream area? I know the whole area is listed as rare species habitat, but the whole ACEC really is listed as, so I'm not sure in this particular site exactly if there's.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've seen shells.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, sometimes it's hard to tell for me personally, I mean, there's definitely native mussels that aren't listed, so it's hard, and for me anyways, it's hard to tell them apart, so. I just had an avenue, the other option is to try to treat those coves just with the sonar. What ends up happening is you have to use a much higher dose in those particular coves than we normally would, just to keep the concentration high enough as it starts to dissipate out into the untreated areas. So we would end up, your unit cost, like if you looked at how much we've charged, or how much the cost of the whole lake treatment and break it down per acre, then trying to treat these coves with fluoridouters, the per acre cost is going to be much higher, because there'll be more herbicide needed in those areas, and we probably would have to come out 1 or 2 more times than we normally would. But that's an option, and I think that but the other thing we could do is check in with, we could make a formal request to Natural Heritage to add the flumioxazin herbicide and see what they say.
So is that Clipper?
Clipper, yeah, Clipper's there's a couple less costly, finally, generic versions, but with the same formulation.
Okay.
So the cost for Clippers come down quite a bit since it first came out in like 2012 or 13. So
I know a couple of years ago, Natural Heritage had indicated they'd be reluctant to permit it because it was an ACEC Great Pond, or ponds,
yeah.
ACEC, but could always ask them.
Yeah, it's probably worthwhile. I know their specific concern is with mussels. Obviously, and in ACC they're concerned about everything, but I think obviously we've been treating with these ponds, fairly regularly, and they don't seem to have an issue with that. But with the Clipper herbicide, they do have concerns with mussels because of the data gap in the manufacturer's information. So, but it's probably worth asking if they know where it is, and that's something that we can, unless they make us go through a formal NISA review again, that would cost $300 if they had to restart, because I think the last time we had the order of conditions, it dates back to 2005, I believe.
Well, it's been extended a couple of
Yeah,
times.
but the original Natural Heritage full review on this project would have been with that notice of intent in 2005, so their reviews typically are only good for 5 years, so they would want, if we wanted them to comment on the project again, we would probably have to submit a new NISA review, and that's a $300 fee, so we can include that in the proposal if you'd like.
So that's something you'd have to do just for our ponds, or is there potential that you'd be able to do it across the state and when you just as a company?
No, it would be just for your ponds, because they
Or
would
the only
need.
pond that has this speed and would potentially use Clipper?
No, but we're not really sure what the species of concern are in these ponds, so that would be part of the process. Like we, to date, if there are listed mussel species actually in Flanagan Pond, we will not be able to use Clipper, but I don't know that we know for sure that there are listed species in the ponds. I think that's the issue.
I guess I would just think if that's an option that you could potentially sell to your customers, why wouldn't Solitude just ask Mass Heritage in general, saying across the state, is there areas that we can use this or not?
They do not allow Clipper to be used in ponds that have rare mussels. They just don't. I mean, that's their policy. So what we'd really be asking them for in the case of the air ponds would be, what actual species, listed species are in Flanagan Pond and Sandy Pond and Pine Meadow Pond. What is there? Do you have records that there are listed mussel species in these ponds? If they say yes, we do, then we know Clippers out of the question. If they say no, we don't have records of these species actually in the ponds, they may say you can go ahead and use it. They may say, well, we do have some plant species or something that they may be possibly concerned about, but there's really no way to find out what that is.
Other than by asking them.
Yes. So, and then Sandy Pond, there has been, it's similar to when we had to treat the inlet of Flanagan Pond, specifically after the year after the whole lake treatment. We've also been doing that at Sandy Pond at the two mouths of the inlets coming in. This past summer, we did very focused fluoridone pellet treatments on those specific areas, and I think we have really finally gotten to the point where we saw very little or no growth of the fan wart after those treatments were conducted. So I think we probably don't have to worry about doing any kind of spot treatments with sonar and Sandy Pond. I mean, if we wanted to be ultra conservative, make sure that stuff was really gone, we would maybe do it one more year. I think the treatment areas are so small, it's not a huge portion of the management program costs. So, I mean, those areas, again, we have, there's a lot of, the issues with those areas is there's a lot of flow, fresh water coming in the inlets. It moves the herbicide out very quickly in those particular areas, and that was the issue at Flanagan Pond, where the water from Sandy Pond was coming in, and the fan wart was literally right in front of that culvert. The water would, it was just so hard to keep the product in the water long enough at a high enough level to kill the plants. That we, really had to just, again, we were within label, but we put like as much as we really could in that area, as many times as we could to try to get that exposure time. And it took a couple of years, and I think the same thing is going on with Sandy Pond in those areas. So, I mean, I think really, ultimately in 2020, we recommend a similar program. The only two question marks are, do we do another year of fluoridone at the inlets of Sandy Pond? And do we go after the three areas of fan wart regrowth in Flanagan Pond? So I think we need to do everything we did this year, so we're probably looking at that kind of that $25,000 budget. So anything, and that did include the Sandy Pond treatment with fluoridone. So the only added amount would be, for 2020, would be to go after the coves in Flanagan Pond. So.
And how much would that add to the?
Well, we put a budget into the report. I mean, I think I estimated, I estimated that, I think the total of the budget table here looks like it comes up to $35,000. So again, that would be, so it basically ends up being about $10,000, believe it or not, to treat the coves of Flanagan's Pond, and I can run the numbers more exactly with Joe, and we can maybe bring that down a little bit around estimating for the report. I think that would, in the report, I was really trying to give kind of a worst case scenario, but we may be able to bring that down a little bit. And the other option is if we can add the natural heritage filing, and we can, if it works out that we can get the clipper approved for Flanagan Pond. I mean, you would literally be talking about, to treat those coves with clipper, you'd be talking about $1,500 compared to upwards of $10,000 to try to treat those coves effectively with fluoridone.
Okay.
So about $8,500 savings, you're saying?
Yeah. But again, I think if Joe, if you folks remember Joe, he came with me last year. He's just been doing a lot of meetings this time, and he's getting a little. Because I didn't have as many, so I'm like, I can go this time. I think I can work with Joe with the numbers, and I think we probably, if we do end up having to do the fluoridone, I think we can probably get it down to 7,500 to 8,000 instead of 10,000. I mean, the only really other thing I wanted to talk about is I don't remember if it was this year, we got a couple phone calls from residents, but I mean, as we all know, the eastern end of Flanagan's Pond is super shallow. It has floating islands, you know, it's really a bad situation. And then we are trying to manage with the late summer treatments of the water lilies. We're trying to create more of a balance, try to keep those lily pads from getting bigger and bigger every year. But it's just a super challenge in that eastern part. It's hard to get into the areas. You know, there's literally inches of water in summer. We do try to get into that area, but it's always going to be a challenge to try to make that area really, I mean, it can only get so good because of the water depths in those areas. And over the years, I know we've talked to the commission about dredging, we talked to them about hydro raking, and the price, obviously the price tags on those mechanical type projects are orders of magnitude above where your budget's been in the past years. So I just wanted to say we're trying to do the best we can with the lilies in that part of the ponds. Really the whole lake's fluoridone treatments were really what kind of gives us a reset on the lilies, because the fluoridone did affect the lily pads. It got into all the nooks and crannies in that area. So I think that ends up being a really good way to kind of reset the lily pads back, but because of the shallow water, they grow back very rapidly. So.
You said you had comments from the residents?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was this year, and I might have a record of it in my office, but I think we had gotten at least one, maybe two phone calls from residents around that shoreline there saying, hey, I don't know that you didn't get close enough to my house, or you didn't do something like that, and
They were unhappy with the
Yeah.
results.
and I didn't know if that had gotten through to the commission at all, so I just wanted to make that clear that unfortunately for those residents, especially on that side of the pond, they unfortunately have to be aware of where they are on the pond, and just that it's only so much that can be done in that area.
Is there any kind of hand harvesting of the lily pad mats that, short of bringing all the big mechanized equipment in, is there any just?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's so labor intensive. Cutting the stems is really only a short term. To really affect control, you'd have to rip out those big rhizomes that are stuck in the mud, and that's a lot of work. But the residents could, with approval of the commission, they could do that type of work. They could potentially do a bottom weed mat, which would probably stop the lily pads from growing, but it's not going to stop the water from being shallow and mucky. And in some cases, even on a good year, you have these big mats of mud floating around in that area because it's so loose and so organic in that area and shallow that the gases just build up, and all that material just kind of floats.
Yeah. If you harvest by hand, what do you do with it?
You could compost it, I suppose, but it's really hard to get those rhizomes out. They're stuck in the mud pretty good. It'd be a challenge I would think even to do an area the size of this table, it could probably take you a day or two, at least, I would think. So you can imagine how much effort would be involved in that big of an area of the pond.
Not a project for Boy Scouts.
Fortunately, no. Like I said, if somebody was they wanted to clear out an area the size of this table in their house, yeah, they could go out. But most homeowners aren't willing to do that, in my experience. So. hydro raking's probably we talked about dredging and hydro raking over the years. Dredging is, enormously expensive. Hydro raking is that kind of middle ground where it's a floating machine with a rake on the front of it. It can works from the water. It can rip those floating islands out.
But it wouldn't do anything about the rhizomes, right?
No, it would.
It would?
Yeah, so the only thing that a hydro rake doesn't do, and why it's distinguishable from actual dredging, is it's a York rake, so it's not a bucket. It has tines and spaces in between them, so all that fine grain sediment doesn't come out. So that's why it's not considered dredging. It's really just that unconsolidated organic material, those chunks of peat that are floating in the rhizomes, that sort of thing, other kind of dead plants that have been sitting on the top of the sediment that can be removed. But that's intensive too. It's not unusual to spend 2 to 4 days or longer even to rake an acre of the ponds, and then the other issue is disposal.
How long would a treatment like that be good for?
I'm sorry?
How long would a treatment like that be good for?
If we could thoroughly rake, I think it really has basically you're removing the lilies, you're restoring some depth because you're getting all that material out. I would think that, it's hard to say exactly, but I would think it would probably take 5 years to come back to the way it was. So the only way that stuff's going to come back is if there was a little seeds or pieces of root that were left after the raking, and or if we're only doing a small area, obviously all the lilies around the edges are going to continue to come back into that clear area.
I would think though that seeds and little bits are gonna be left. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a 100% removal effort because you're working under the water and you can't actually see what you're doing down there, which makes it difficult.
Is there anything else?
No, I'm also.
Any questions from the commission?
Any other questions about anything, the ponds, lake management in general, algae, open for anything?
As far as schedule goes, what's the latest you would recommend starting treatment?
So it's different for the Fluridone versus like the Diquat. Fluridone, we like to try to get in there as early as we can. It usually ends up being May. Sometime the Diquat treatments usually end up being sometime in June, even mid to late June, maybe sometimes early July, depending on the spring and how quickly the plants have grown. So.
This is on your table here. The earliest treatment says was July 26th.
Yeah, as I know, this year we had quite a cold and wet spring, and a lot of the plants were behind. But I think on a general year with the Diquat, we would be in there sometime in mid to late June.
Okay.
Lily pads are treated typically August, September.
So if we do the same treatment as we did last year, it'd be basically the same amount.
I think the contract last year was 25.
25.
So I'd be in favor of talking to Natural Heritage about resubmitting to them about the quickly. Seems to.
Yeah, but with the clipper, you really can, eventually it's going to start to get ahead of you and you're going to have to go back to the whole lake treatment again. But the clipper can give you multiple years more in between that happens. Especially with the new generic products, the costs are a lot more manageable. The only thing is it still has, because it's one of the newer herbicides, it still has what I consider like break-in period conditions from DEP. They had only let us treat up to a quarter of a water body at any one time. We also aren't supposed to treat the same area in the pond in sequential years. So if we treat an area, we're actually supposed to wait 3 years before we treat that same area again, unless it's immediately adjacent to a beach, boat launch, or some kind of high-use area. Then there's an exception for that.
You could treat it with something besides Clipper
Yeah.
in those areas. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's a good question too. But they would allow you to treat more, is what you're saying. If it was near a beach, they let you treat.
They let you treat every year if it was within a high-use area. Yeah, so I think.
Any other, besides taking care of the mussels, what other side effect is with Clipper that we are experiencing with the treatments we're doing?
There's none. There's none, and I think the concerns that came about, again, I think there was, as the state reviewed the registration data provided by the manufacturer, they weren't happy with the tests that were done on mollusks, mussels. They didn't feel that the testing that was done to get the label approved by the EPA was enough in their eyes to know for sure that there wasn't any effect on mussels. So there wasn't actually any evidence that there was an adverse effect on mussels, just that there was not enough evidence, they felt, for them to really evaluate the mussels. And they also because it was a newer herbicide, they weren't sure how broad spectrum is it, what other types of non-target plants could it potentially have an effect on. We're actually the state is allowing us on 2 ponds right now, Webster Lake in Webster and a pond down in Wareham, Agawam Mill. They're letting us do sequential years of treatment, actually 3 years of treatment in a row, coupled with pretty intensive quantitative monitoring of the target and non-target species. So they're looking for some data. They approved kind of the test assessments and made the people on the lake happy, and then it also will get them some data to maybe re-look at some of the initial conditions that they had put on the use of this particular herbicide.
How long has Clipper been in use?
It was around 2013, I believe, maybe 2012.
So the long-term results we're still waiting.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
So in that time, roughly 6-7 years, they haven't gotten enough information to determine the mollusk issue is a non-issue yet, we're saying?
No, they haven't, because nobody's, unfortunately, mussel monitoring is costly. The state hasn't done any mussel monitoring. None of the other ponds really have done, and nobody's done any mussel monitoring. We haven't seen dead floating mussels anywhere either, but we know we're not seeing any adverse effects on mussels, but that's not quantitative enough. I mean, we're not out there counting mussels. We're not seeing dead mussels after treatment, but we don't know is the population's slowly going away. And they're not only concerned about adult mussels, they're concerned about the long-term effect if the herbicide has effects on the juvenile mussels or the veligers before that. You may not see the effects of that until 3 or 4 years down the line. So there was some talk about them doing some mussel monitoring, but unfortunately that never happened. So, and again, they're not concerned enough to say, they're only concerned with the lakes that have rare mussels.
Sure.
So, I mean, almost every lake and pond has native mussels that are common, and they're not restricting the use of Clipper on those lakes. It's just the ones that they're really worried about losing are the rare species that just don't want to take any chances in those lakes and ponds. So.
I wonder if we could call Natural Heritage and see, I think they maintain a list of the rare and endangered species in each section
Yep.
of the numbered sections.
They
of
should.
Priority and estimated habitat.
We can ask them, that we're, considering the use to, of flipper, we're just curious, what species.
What
do
have we
need
got
to be-
here?
Yeah, what do we need to be aware of in these 3 ponds?
Yep.
And,
Yeah, that's,
And that probably
This-
doesn't
I mean,
cost $300.
no, it doesn't.
But we wouldn't be saying.
For normal people, it probably cost, they have a data review, it's $50, but usually, I mean, we've been working with Misty Ann Merrill's the
Yes.
biologist,
Yep.
and when you can get a hold of her, she's very happy to help you with answer questions. I'm sure, honestly, she'd be more than happy to. She's usually more than happy to tell you what the species are and give a quick run on what you're trying to do, and she'll kind of save you the time and say, don't bother. Don't bother sending
Yeah,
in
that
the
would be good to
review.
know.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be saying that we're considering using it, we'd be saying we're considering changing our order of conditions to allow use, to applying for permission to change it. Because they have to okay it.
Right.
They do. Yeah. It can be considered a minor change in terms of not having to actually amend it, but yeah, because it's a natural heritage reviewed project, they would have, even minor changes, you would have to run
Yep.
by them.
Well,
Unfortunately, I think if she says, yeah, this is something that we could do, I think then we still probably then we would have to pay the $300 because they won't even write, if it's been more than 5 years, they
Right.
won't even write the letter
yeah.
without having that trigger of the review, so.
Well, it seems like it would be an easy thing to have me just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I think she was the one I talked to several years ago on it, but
Yeah, you guys might even
it's
see
been
her.
several years ago now, and it's not been in use that long, so maybe it changed.
You might even see her. I'll be at the conference on Saturday, and so she's a lot of times she's there as well. You might be able to
Oh, wow, awesome.
pull her aside for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And,
You could muscle in for some time.
Make sure that makes the meeting.
This is how we roll here.
that's right.
Clam up.
It's early.
Well, if there's no more questions, I'm sure you have other stuff on your agenda.
Well, we
We know
appreciate-
folks are waiting, so
Really appreciate you coming
you're
by.
very welcome.
Yep.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
we'll,
thanks. We'll keep in touch, and then once we get things ironed out, we can send you guys a
we'll
proposal.
figure out the, yeah. Great.
Thank
All right,
you.
have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item of business this evening is a public hearing, notice of intent, Chicker Mill Pond, DEP file number 100-0437. Hello, John.
Good evening, John Boardman, Places Associates. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So in your packets, you all have what I characterized to John as the preliminary, really rough draft of some special conditions. And then he went through them as though they were a real set of orders.
Just trying to help.
Thanks.
Put some red marks, filled in some information you didn't have.
Oh yes, did you like my XX? XX, that means ask John for the date. And you did, look at that.
Yep, some dates and some distances and some areas.
Yep.
I read through it, I didn't see any issues other than some check boxes and some information that needed to be filled in.
Rough draft.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate you getting it together quickly and getting it so that we could talk about it tonight.
Yeah, well, it was a train wreck, so my apologies. The one thing I think the commission needs to take a look at is any project-specific conditions for this. Most of the rest of this 11 to 12 pages is just our standard special conditions. Nothing out of the ordinary there, but on page 8, project-specific conditions is the place that we can be specific about. things along the lines of, where the road in is really close to the wetland line, or where the slope is kind of steep and the stumps are coming out, the dumped stumps. We did have the one area of knotweed that,
That is noted on the plan.
yep, that Bonnie had mentioned, the Bonnie Tillotson Memorial Knotweed Patch.
Memorial?
Well, just because she's not here anymore, I mean, with us.
I think some of condition 30 is actually tailored to a specific job, or
Oh, no.
a previous job. Maybe when you cut and paste it, it says, if you go to page 9, first condition, setup of dewatering basin to be located in southeast corner where existing structure to be demolished.
Yep.
So I suspect that was the site-specific from the last set of regs, because we're not demolishing a building.
Right,
And then maybe 31, maybe something similar. It looks like you were looking for certification of foundation elevations. Usually we send over a copy of the foundation as-built plan, but this just seemed like it was tailored for one in specific and maybe not us.
well, we needed, on that particular one, we needed to be within a half an inch or it wasn't gonna work, so. But we still do like to know the foundation elevations.
Yeah, usually we show it right on the foundation as-built, so we got a location and a top of concrete, and that goes to the building inspector. I'm happy to send a copy over to you, so
Yeah.
if you wanted to make that something similar to that.
So we're gonna scratch the third sentence in 30 then? Right, setup, so we're gonna scratch the setup, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah, no,
But we
that's
leave
just,
the last
that's
sentence,
a,
correct? Conservation Administration will be notified of inspection of dewatering.
yeah, I don't actually think that you're gonna end up in dewatering, but you never know, because you just never know.
Exactly.
During that time when you're doing, I think, utilities, you might have to make a temporary construction entrance.
Yep.
Do we need any special safeguards or notification on that? Doing that?
Well, that's actually gonna be farther from the wetland line, right?
Would move up to,
Typically, it would be where the road is being constructed, but as we discussed, while they're putting the actual utilities under the road, they would move the construction entrance uphill. If you wanted to note that in the conditions, that would be fine. That's just sort of the procedure. They still need to be able to get their trucks in, and they're not allowed to put the mud onto the street, so it's a slight extra cost to them, but it's all within the area that is within the limit of work as shown on the plan already.
Yep.
So it really shouldn't make much of a difference. And a lot of that site's disturbed already.
Yeah, when you say up, that's.
Away from the pond.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. to the-
South, yeah, towards Harvard.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought you meant, just want to be sure.
Yep. And I think we took care of most of the concerns that you guys had with notes on the grading plan. Removal of the invasive species, we shifted the hay bales to take some of the debris out of there that was in there. We shifted the hay bales to the bottom of the slope so that we were allowed to, so that we could reach and get those stumps without actually going outside the limit of work, so there's no
Yeah.
confusion on that. And then the plan calls for the stumps to be removed, and once they're removed, if it's not stable, the slope would be riprap with stone so that we wouldn't have any soil eroding down the hillside. So those are the sort of things we talked about at the site walk.
Some of that is actually not just dump stumps, it's just stumps that are in the ground too, right? Some of
It
those-
looked like a 10-wheeler or a trailer load of stumps had been dumped off the side there at some point.
Yeah, but I think some of those are actual stumps that are in the ground.
If they're in the ground, I'd rather leave them because they're
Right.
holding the ground in place, but the stuff that's trash
Right.
is gonna need to come out for
Yeah.
aesthetics and safety and all that kind of stuff. And then you did mention the knotweed. I just worked with the Ahos on a project in Concord, and they have a landscaper that does the invasive removals for them in Concord, because now Concord requires, it's the craziest thing, well, not the craziest thing, but basically every notice of intent in Concord requires mitigation, as they call it, and their form of mitigation is removal of invasive species on the site. So they've got a landscaper that knows what the invasives are, knows how to treat you think some of them you cut and you dab with the poison.
Yeah.
Some of them you gotta take the roots out. I don't know all the details, but they've got a guy that's been doing it for them in Concord. So I assume they'll just bring him up to clear that area out, since he knows
Okay, well, we could
what they're doing.
We could specify that.
It's shown on the plan, so you can certainly specify it, but
Yeah.
it's also shown on the plan. It's good to be in two places sometimes.
It wasn't a huge area, but
It was two bushes,
They're pretty good size.
probably 6-8 feet across at the
Yeah.
crown.
Yeah, they're large. Takes a bit to get rid of them.
Get them while they're young. Yeah.
Trust me. I'm on year 2.
I think a lot of that area was disturbed in the past. Material was hauled out, material was dumped back in. So it probably came in on a dump load at some point in the past and it's been establishing itself there.
And yet it's remarkable how invasive-free the actual buffer zone is. It really is.
I don't think the area, well, I don't know exactly on it, but the area, if you look at the old aerials, especially the one I keep bringing out and showing you guys, they cut and cleared, basically clear cut the center of the site, but they did leave a pretty good swath of natural vegetation along the edge of the pond, and that's the
Yeah.
pines,
Yeah.
and not a whole lot of undergrowth, and you've got the mat of pine needles down there, and it wasn't dug up, so that's probably why that area looks the way it
It
does.
is really nice. Signs on posts for the conservation restricted land.
The planning board required monuments at every lot corner abutting the open space. So I think we're gonna end up with those small pheno markers I showed you on each lot corner that will say open space. But then we can also put your signs on posts at the buffer zone or at the back of the lot, whichever is coincident. I don't have a problem with that.
the ones that you're putting in are the low ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, but they also, the planning board also are requiring us obviously to comply with any order of conditions that are issued and provide signage as requested by the Conservation Commission. So they've already said we need to meet it. Again, two places, put it there.
Yeah.
It should probably be in the conservation restriction rather than this, just because this is going to end up in a file somewhere and nobody's going to see it. This conservation restriction will be a little more active over the years.
Or in both places.
Yeah, I guess they probably need to be both, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll
That's what I
have
was
to,
thinking.
we'll be issuing a COC.
We can basically
Right.
put in the CR that they must maintain the signs that
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
So that, if it falls down, they have to pick it up. If it's metal, so it's not gonna disappear, but unless it ends up on some teenager's wall. So maintain signs, or signage, or whatever. Add one more.
Signs on posts, invasives.
Oh,
Notification.
did you want to put a condition about us working with you to provide a walking path adjacent to the pond? We had discussed that. It's not called out specifically on the plan.
Yep.
I don't want to run an excavator down there and create a road, but I would think that you and I and the site super are taking a walk and saying, cut this tree that's lying down and move them to either side, and finding a natural pathway through there, we could, some flagging or some paint or something to get the path started. And then with a little use, I suspect it'll just be maintained.
Sure. That would be a nice thing to do.
Well, it would be a nice thing to do, and the benefit of that is that it focuses people in one place instead of having people roaming all over every single bit of the buffer zone. There would be an attraction to, and people, including me, like to walk on a path.
Yeah. Even just taking the branches and the dead trees and pushing them to the side to
Yeah.
form a corridor so that you know when you're going that way.
Right.
Can really get it. I don't think it has to be formal.
Oh, no, I wouldn't want to actually build a trail,
Right.
but just to
Encourage one.
make it a
Yeah.
little easier for people.
It's nice to walk down by the dam.
It's so nice.
See the water pouring over.
So how did the well, let's get back to that in
Sure.
a sec. How did the planning board leave it with the CR itself?
It is intended to have a CR, and we have to submit the appropriate information for their approval in terms of who will be the designated owner of the CR, what the maintenance requirements will be, and provide a funding mechanism to allow it to happen.
And the homeowners association is going to keep the,
Homeowners Association would be
itself?
the owner of the land, correct. So they were talking about a mechanism to provide 10 years worth of funding for the maintenance requirements of the CR, whether that be cash up front or a portion of cash up front, and then a mechanism where some of the funding comes out over time from the HOA. That was, again, it's in there, they have to approve it.
okay, and is that tied to first building permit?
First CO.
First CO. Oh, that's good. So it's
Yeah,
not.
so I already told Dan he needs to get going,
Yeah.
because that's gonna come up faster than he thinks. And
Well, it is-
the CR can take longer than he
It's
thinks.
a long
Sure.
process.
It can be.
First CO, just.
Certificate of occupancy. So you can start building on as many as you want in theory. You just can't put anybody living in one until you've got that satisfied.
Yeah. And is it 10 years of funding, you said?
That was the number they used, yep. There was some vagary in terms, and nobody was quite sure of exactly what the annual cost was. But it basically, again, says that we need to submit the information for the financials and they need to approve it. So they still have power over everything, even though a lot of those details are still forthcoming.
Yeah.
I think they want to have the town be able to take care of these things in the future for this and future projects, so they're trying to create that mechanism to make it happen. So that's the impression I get, at least.
Yeah, but this will give it time to formulate that.
Like everything, baby steps.
Much appreciated.
All right, well, special condition wise, even though it's shown on the plan, I'd like to add one about the removal of the invasives, Bonnie's invasives. Signs on posts. Do you have the plan, the big version?
Oh, yeah, I have everything, I just was being lazy. Didn't drag it all out.
50 feet, 100 feet, what are we doing? Between sunlight.
So the,
So this is our roadway. The orange is what is the 100-foot buffer zone. So we have work in the buffer zone here, work in the buffer zone here, we're working up against and or right in the buffer zone here. And actually the majority of the buffer zone work is the buffer to that isolated on the right, which is in this area here. So a portion of that lot, this lot, this lot, this lot, and this lot, that's all in the buffer zone to that isolated area. So that's the biggest portion. I was doing the areas, I think this was like 31,000. This was like 17. And then those were the change that brought it up to the 60, I think, was the total area within the buffer zone. 60,000 square feet, so
Right,
acre and a half.
yeah, asked him to figure out how much total buffer zone impact.
Yeah. acre
What
and a
is
half.
the total?
60,000 square feet. I think 60,031, but I rounded it off. I'm an engineer.
It's in the minutes, it's 31.
I suppose it all depends on the width of the straw wattles, you know, so.
Yeah. Do you want to put something in on just if, when they move that temporary entrance?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, I've got that. Temporary entrance, the invasive, signs on posts.
Encouraging the path, where would you put that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a guardrail that runs here, and we called out for a break in the guardrail right here. There's a sidewalk, and behind it a guardrail. So we called out for a break in the guardrail right there, and my thought was that would be your starting point. And I picked a spot where it was basically flat off the back of the sidewalk, so you could just sort of step towards the pond. And then from there, it would just, I think however the terrain brings us, the open space where if there's thick brush, there's a couple of holes back there where it looks like
and some trees down, so you just sort of work your way around all that stuff. And,
Sure.
Can we try and make some sort of, from the boulder to the path too somehow?
Yes, I would assume we'll pick one side or the other and come up through the open space there so that you could walk your dog down, around, and come back up or something like that.
Yeah. Hopefully discourage people from, just
Their own cutway.
beelining right from their backyard, probably not gonna happen, but let's take a shot.
Well,
It is fairly open, so, walking in among those pines, I think would be pretty non-invasive. You wouldn't have to cut stuff to be able to walk off your backyard down to the
Right.
pond, which,
Right. But you're not gonna stop people from.
So then at that entrance then,
Leg traps.
this electric
you're
fence.
supposed to be able to enjoy the resources that we're protecting.
with your
As long as
dying
it-
breath.
So there's gonna be a guardrail.
The guardrail runs basically from this lot all the way up to the front because that's where that steep slope is on the left.
Right.
So we don't want anybody falling off.
And that's to make sure we get signs along there, because I can see people saying, oh, that's an awesome place to dump leaves down into.
Well, we have a nice collection of signs. We've got the no dumping, no disturbance signs, and then we've got
I
the,
would think you'd want something there and then something at the back of,
Yeah.
these lots.
Mm-hmm.
In the back of these lots somewhere, and then whether you wanted to do something behind these two.
Yeah.
The rest of it's pretty innocuous in terms of outside the buffer zone or not close to anything.
Again, I'm just
that's
thinking
one,
with the
two,
berm there.
this,
Yeah, so southeast berm, right, so people aren't gonna,
It's like
maybe they'll go off the berm and dump on the other side, but I can easily see people taking their grass clippings and walking across the street and dumping them over the edge, I guess, of
Oh.
the guardrail is what I'm getting at.
yeah, there,
yeah.
and here. They're gonna end up in here.
Well, that's part of the maintenance of the CR, isn't it? It gets
Yeah,
walked every year and
Yeah,
Yep.
print up a flyer and say, by the way,
yeah,
stop putting your leaves in the open space, and
yeah.
hopefully the flyer doesn't end up in the open space. In the leaves.
Well, how about, tomorrow's our short day here, and depending on how late we go tonight, you may not want me marking up a plan tomorrow, but Monday morning, first thing, I can take a run at it for the CR signs, as well as the no dumping, no disturb signs.
John, about how wide are those lots in the back there?
The lots?
Yeah.
I think they're 80. This is just close to scale. Close to
like one.
Yep, they're about 80. I mean, I'm okay with a condition that says, a dozen signs installed based on a site walk with the administrator upon completion of the project or something like that, so that we don't have to say right now that you want it exactly here. You and I can take a walk, I'll bring a hammer, we'll pound the signs in, and then we can adjust it as we see fit at the end of the day.
Could we, this is not based on your project, but other projects, something that ensures the signs get put up
Prior.
prior to, or at least as close to a sale. or
So it's not a
prior
surprise to the homeowner?
Prior to a
Sure,
closing, at least.
sure.
Yeah, prior to a closing.
Oh, so that brings me kind of,
Signs.
we have a new sign being designed as we speak that says this property is under an order of conditions with the Air Conservation Commission.
For during construction?
Mhm.
Cool.
Because we've had a lot of surprised homeowners.
Unhappy, surprised them.
Yes.
Those realtors.
And not just the realtor.
All that wood's back there, that's all yours. You want a powerboat? The realtor told me I owned the telephone pole. That's the famous one.
And those would have to be up through till closing, would we say? Those would have to be kept up through till closing?
The,
The signs for orders of condition.
Order of condition signs?
yeah, that would, but the, but we want those permanent
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those in before closing.
The ones at the back of the lots.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
You don't need to go pounding them in on a Saturday morning and waking up the neighbors.
yeah.
Well, we have,
What's
I-
that?
I know you and I were together when you put the ones in on just metal signposts.
7 and 8, yep.
But we have asked people to install them on 4x4s.
Okay.
So we'll,
And that way, then we can pick the spots and I'll have them send somebody over to dig the holes.
yeah.
You and I can just drive a wooden stake in and say, sign
Yes,
here.
Right.
Let them come back and actually put them in. I don't
Yeah.
need to take sign post holes.
So do you guys prefer 4x4s or metal signposts?
Which is gonna last longer.
Probably about the same.
I think the 4x4s are, the ones we saw this past weekend,
Mhm.
decent, I thought.
Are those pressure treated?
I think so.
Yep,
Cedar?
Well, I don't know.
I know.
Don't want to just nail them to a tree. Sorry.
What trees?
Where are you?
Tree trunk.
You know, when
There
it
you
comes
go.
to staking out the walking path, maybe that would be a good commission site walk again, just
Yeah.
to accompany, just to,
Have a chance to walk down in there again, 'cause
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. Yeah.
And get the project underway or partially underway, and you could come see, making an inspection of the site, and at the
Yeah.
same time, we could take a walk down below and hang some flags and say, this is where it's gonna end up,
Yeah, that would be great. It's a good thought.
on a warm day this time.
Correct.
No, that was the planning, I was out there with the planning board one day, and it was like 16 degrees.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, we heard about that.
Yep. It was a quick site walk.
Any other special conditions, site-specific conditions?
The berm and the plantings along the berm, that's all in the plan, we're good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, landscape berm, evergreen plantings. We talked about it with the planning board and trying to demarcate where the end of the lots are, but planting it and then sort of allowing it to go natural after that. It's not gonna look like a mulch landscape garden forever.
Yeah.
But get it planted and then let it grow.
Any other comments from the commission? Any questions? Are there any questions from members of the audience?
I've got a general comment.
yeah.
If you'll allow
Could
me.
you state your name, please, for the...
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. My name is Daniel Tracy. I'm a resident of Harvard on Shaker Road, but I also own a 20-acre property that's in Chapter 61 Forestry Protection that's on the Shaker Road part, and part of that's in Ayer, right along where the utilities are going to run or propose to run from that guardrail corner near Madigan's property down into the proposed development.
Mm-hmm.
I've made comments at to this committee before and reiterate some of those, but I specifically want to mention the planning board meeting that was held a few weeks ago that I think many of you attended, and Joanne was doing a presentation on the CR activities and open space plan in general. But the chairman of the planning board started the meeting with comments about Mass Audubon's recent publication of their losing ground summary of the rate of forest land in the state of Massachusetts that's being converted to development for housing or other commercial purposes. And the purpose of the presentation at that planning board meeting was that he was citing an article in the 2020 report that said Ayer has made tremendous progress. Ayer was #1, as you probably well know, in terms of the rate of losing forest to developments in the previous 5-year report. And there was a citation in this 2020 report of going to the previous, the most recent 5-year period, saying how much progress Ayer had made, specifically citing open space planning and you know, a lot of the efforts that this commission and other Ayer boards have made in terms of stemming the rapid development of housing properties. But I don't know if you know, but Ayer is now number 2. So it's not like you went from number 1 to number 101 in terms of the rate of development over the last 5 years. So my view is, and I'm just citing this Losing Ground article and the data in that report that I've read parts of, that I think this Aho development is a big step backward in terms of Ayer's progress that you've made over the last 5 years in stemming the rate of development in this town. So more specifically, I think it was mentioned that in conservation restrictions, you want to avoid narrow strips of land. And not only is this project adjacent to a very sensitive wetland, the Shaker Mill Pond, and the utilities coming down along Bennett's Brook, but the whole project is, the open space part of the project is admittedly, I think, some narrow strips of land between that wetland and the housing development, and then again on the other side, but very small spaces. I think it is not the best example of an open space type of thing. And I know you're all very proud that, you know, that this open space concept is being applied to this proposal, but it's my feeling that this particular proposal in this particular location is a very bad idea of what the open space concept was intended to be, and I think in some other projects I've heard about plan to be in other developments. I'm particularly concerned with the utility pipes going under the wetlands, under Bennett's Brook on their way in and out the water and sewer pipes, and the potential leaks that are going to occur there. And I think this violates, in my mind, the spirit of the Wetlands Protection Act, if not the letter of the act per se. I took an 11-week course with Mass Audubon last year, a naturalist program that they were offering, and we had countless readings in which authors were just lamenting, you know, the fact that deforestation and impact of development next to wetlands is just tragically, you know, reducing the biodiversity, the number of animals and microorganisms in ponds and rivers and so forth, and just lamenting the fact that development seems to always get the upper hand, and that the Wetlands Protection Act kind of gets stomped on in terms of what its initial intent was. And I believe that despite all the measures of the drain, what do you call it, the spillways that are at the bottom of the driveway, the proposed driveway, to mitigate all the runoff from the land, and the driveways, that a lot of that toxic material is not going to get completely processed and removed, so that I think it's inevitable that a lot of toxic material from these 22 units, especially as they're on a grade flowing ultimately down into that Shaker Mill Pond and Bennett's Brook, is going to have an impact, a negative impact on those wetlands over time, not to mention the possibility of breaks or leaks in these utility pipes that are going right under that Bennett's Brook. So that, coupled with the deforestation to create the development, I think just adds to the Ayer's losing ground problem rather than putting you in a different direction. So, you know, I've made these comments, some of them before. I realize you've all done a yeoman's job in terms of trying to address all the particular aspects of this proposal plan, but I think it was just a terrible plan to begin with, to locate in such a sensitive area, locate this huge housing development. And yeah, I just think it'll be a travesty if it gets approved. So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tracy. Yes, sir.
I'm curious if Joanne wants to respond to anything that he said. I will.
I don't feel I should respond to anything, Ken, but if you would like to respond.
Okay, well, Mr. Tracy is extremely well-spoken, and I appreciate his comments. He's attended most of the meetings, as he mentioned, of the planning board. But as Mr. Tracy probably knows, it will never probably ever get below 1, 2, or 3 in the calculation that's used by Audubon, because the calculation is based on their formula of acres of development divided by square miles of the town size. So therefore, a small development in Ayer, let's say a 10-acre development in Ayer, divided by a 9.7 square mile radius, will give us a number that they use in their figures. So I find actually a problem with the way the Audubon is using that calculation, because all large towns in the state of Massachusetts who have large acreage could have double or triple the size of our development and still be rated much lower than the town of Ayer. So if you went back in history, which I did do, there were times when the town of Ayer had a complete moratorium. Naturally, we would fall down in the ranking. But as we continue to develop under almost any circumstances using that formula, the town of Ayer will always end up high on that chart, the way they calculate it. Because the formula is acres of development divided by square miles of a town. Mm-hmm. So the smallest towns in the state of Massachusetts, in particular a town like Ayer, which is using whatever resources we have, and as development comes towards us, to control that development in the best way we can. We may never change much in that ranking from Audubon. So and I'm sure this board has read that report, and it cited most of the improvements that we put in place over the years, and failed to actually report the latest change, because which is your wetland protection filer of the town, and your continued improvement to protect the buffer zones. So if you added that report about the wetland improvements that have come up in your bylaw changes that have happened, on top of the other changes that we made in the last 4 or 5 years, we still would end up with a high ranking no matter what, because we're being forced into this rating by the fact that a small number of acres, 10, 15, 20 acres development in Ayer, will always make us look worse than 50 acres of development in the town of Plymouth, which is 23 square miles or 100 square miles, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Tracy's been very astute in his observations, and he's been a great participant in the process. But I just want to point out that I'm defending the fact that it's a small town, and the calculation will always put us high in the rank. So I take great pride in the fact that we got the acknowledgement by Audubon for the work that we did, and I think you should hang your hand on that as an achievement.
Thank you.
Appreciate
that.
Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of that calculation is the percent of forested area converted to development.
Just as acres, I looked at the formula, it's acres per square mile.
Because I attended a Mass Audubon presentation where the individual giving the talk was talking about how they use satellite imagery to create all this data, and she goes back to 1980s and collected all this data, and you look at what the percentage of trees have now become homes or buildings, and that's how the calculation was made. I agree that the percentage of a smaller town will push you up that ladder, but I think the general point I think still holds, that you're converting forested area, of which there isn't much left, I think, in Ayer, to housing or commercial areas.
Yeah, well,
Some areas like Plymouth may have, a lot of open space already that, somebody says, oh, in this big field, we're going to now build the housing project, not taking down any trees. So that wouldn't even show up probably as this conversion from forest to housing area, but.
Well, we appreciate your concern. We do. I mean, I think given where we are in this design compared to when it first came to us is pretty huge. And we're trying to do whatever we can do to protect the resources.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I just reiterate the point that I think it was a bad idea to begin with.
We heard that.
Unfortunately, I think one of the things that's often said is, if you don't like a project, buy the land yourself. And that's, to control it that way, and unfortunately, that's a really hard bar to get over. We did have another project that was, last fall, it was right by an intermittent stream, a lot of slopes, a lot of fill, and we denied that one. It's been appealed. We're sort of waiting, expecting that we'll probably go forward. So even if we turn things down, we don't have a lot of power after that. So sometimes take the wins where we can get them. So.
And the strip of land is, you're talking about a narrow strip of land and a conservation restriction. I think they're talking like 20 feet. You don't want to have just a thin piece of land. This is not that.
The majority of it is large open space. There are a couple of strips, but they have purposes. They're providing buffer zones to the golf course, buffer zones to the abutting property, and a buffer zone to the street.
Right.
So, yes, there are some narrow strips, but they had a purpose and there was reasoning behind them. I think what they really like you to avoid is, designing a project and then finding all the little scraps at the end and calling that the open space and throwing a CR on it. Where we really worked, I think, to say, all right, this is where the houses are going, this is where the road's going, and then drawing the lot lines in after the fact to make sure that everything matches. So
Right.
there's a process.
And identifying the most worthy of protection pieces of land, and then working to protect that buffer zone to Shaker Mill Pond.
Yeah. It's been a long process.
It has been a long process.
Appreciate all your hard work.
Well, and we appreciate your willingness and Dan's willingness to work with us.
Well, I like the way it looks now, so got rid of the common driveways, got rid of a lot of the stuff that was going to make it complicated.
Yes.
It looks neat and clean. That's just the engineering me talking.
Well, and the buffer zone is protected in large part, so that's the area in our jurisdiction.
Right.
And I think we did a good job.
Anything else? So, motion to continue? Or what?
Should we do motion to, are you done with the planning board, or should we?
They've closed the hearing and moved to approve.
So we haven't voted yet on approving the notice of intent and moving on to formally drafting the LOC.
Yeah, we can do that. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I don't remember what you guys like to do. Do you typically keep the public hearing portion open until you sign the order? Okay, so the public hearing will remain open and continued until your next meeting, hopefully?
Correct.
Okay, and when is that, out of curiosity?
March 12th.
March 12th.
Okay.
Motion to continue to March 12th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the first looked at the backyard, 20 feet from the edge of the town.
John, were you at the meeting when we first looked at the plan and there were 33 houses on it?
Yeah. and then-
Dan said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Yuck."
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my more articulate moments.
Coming in.
Did you ever see the plan with 99 units on it for a 40B?
Oh, gosh, maybe you're really glad I never did see that one.
Just asking.
I started that one.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, John. The next item this evening is a public hearing, continued notice of intent for Groton Harvard Road. DEP file number 100-0440. Is this
Ready to sign.
ready to sign?
Ready to sign. Kevin Conover and I did the draft back and forth. This one's very simple. Ready to sign.
Is it motion to sign and then close the public hearing? That you did?
You have to make a motion to sign?
No, we approved it, right?
You already approved it, haven't you?
Yeah. I think so.
That's mine.
Oh, that's yours?
Yep, George has moved to approve the notice of intent and begin drafting.
So we need to sign it.
Yeah.
You can go either way. I mean, so I suppose officially we should say we're approving the order as written.
Motion to approve the order as written?
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It's a good thing our human takes such good minutes. Thank
no,
you.
motion to continue, no, motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, our next item this evening is a continuation of public meeting request for determination of applicability at 1 Wagon Road. Mr. Edmund Staples. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So we have some concerns about
After the sidewalk.
after the sidewalk
Sorry.
regarding, obviously, the trees. Taking them down. And one thing that was mentioned that I never did hear your comments on, or your feelings on, was trying to move the road away from the wetlands and into the slope a little bit, the driveway.
So,
To gain width.
To gain the width and to try to keep as much of the existing driveway out of the wetlands from plowing.
so, what are you asking me? You're asking me to do that as a measure now for concerns of the wetland, or are you asking me, you think that I want to widen the road, so why can't I go in towards the house? What is the,
Well, I guess we're kind of wondering if it's more than just an RDA and should be a notice of intent and have an engineer look at this and just to have better eyes on it.
so, I mean, this has a history to it. I can have an engineer look at it. I don't want to get into grading. I built those walls that are there now. It's very difficult. It's right on the wetland. It's very invasive. There's traffic. There's traffic on the road going to Suzanne's, and then there's stockpiles of material. And I don't want to get into that level of alteration. When Bill Daniels was on the board, we walked down there and we talked about widening the road into the wetland and then buying land from the town for replication, so on and so forth. And it's just a level of activity that I would like to avoid. The road is a private way. It provides legal access to houses down there for permitting. The existing roadway will never be built to town standards. It's not feasible. I would like to try and keep this as minimal as possible and just try and as reasonable as possible. There's trees there that decrease the road down to 9 to 10 feet. And then there are trees there that are 12 feet away. So, in my opinion, I'd rather just take out the worst offenders, if there's that much concern about the trees, and just kind of live with the 12 feet, the existing, and not touch grading, provided you're okay with it, Suzanne is okay with it, and the fire department's okay with it. That would be my preference. That's kind of my position. If you look, you all walked up the back way, the slope. You go to the end of my property and then you sort of do a U-turn and you walk up. That's actually access to my house, where I will drive my truck down and then back up to the house. At some point, my wife and I have talked sometime in the future that may be the way that we access our house. So moving the road into that slope makes that condition very difficult and that future possibility more remote. So that's one of the reasons I would not like to, move into at least that slope. Up until that point is fine, but, and then I don't know if you're aware, but my property actually ends before it gets all the way down that slope. So that whole area down there is actually Suzanne.
Okay.
So that's how I feel. I would just try to I would like to keep this as minimal as possible. I don't want to build walls into the wetlands. And if you don't want any trees coming down, that's just the way it's going to be.
Well, it's not that we don't want them coming down. The concern is that those coming down is going to undermine the driveway eventually, and then it's going to be harder to
repair that around.
Yeah.
So if you take out every single tree, with traffic and plowing and whatnot, I mean, it makes the edge more vulnerable than if you keep the trees there. I agree with that. But if you drive around on all those roads, which I've been doing for 20 years, there are plenty of road edge embankments the same way with no trees that are not falling away. We had a problem in 2010 in that area when that entire road was flooded. We were canoeing over the top of the wall, you know, and so we did have problems. But that was when the culvert gave away and we had the massive flood. And 2 years prior to that, we had the ice storm. So we had trees coming down, and we had logs bucked up, and stuff was floating everywhere. I mean, it was a mess. But other than those sort of catastrophic events, we don't have, I mean, we have the regular maintenance, but we don't have the embankments falling away. So.
But I guess the idea though is, you know, again, based on these trees here that you're identifying to take out, right? You know, this one I remember, you know, the roots were basically exposed.
Right.
Right, so again, you're taking that out, in time that will rot away, this will fall down. And I guess what we're saying is, even on this side, when you take these out, you're gonna create that issue sometime in the future, who knows how exactly how long. Why not again, if you're taking these out, dig in a bit more, gain some width here, and just make a permanent solution for yourself. And then you eliminate having to do anything on this side at all. So, at least I don't think I have much issue with this, knowing that yeah, this is already a problem.
I mean, we can look at that. I mean, that is a sloped, there's a significant slope.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is.
You know,
but as I said, I think you've got exposed roots here. This was a fairly large tree, and if you're going to take it out, I'm sure it's got some pretty hefty roots inside there, and eventually those will die and rot, and that'll give way. This is a large, extremely large tree down here.
I might not take those out, to be honest with you. If I have contacted another arborist, and they're out of Lincoln, and they seem like a perfect fit, and they said, well, we don't serve air. I just want you to drive out, and you know. And so they referred me to another arborist who has a tree company. So it's, my preference would be to not take out the trees. I know the one has the roots coming off of it. And the problem is the one next to it is actually leaning towards the house.
This one, right?
No, the smallest. The one that's actually, yeah, that one.
Okay.
That'd be the smallest one. That one is leaning towards the house. And we actually had an emergency order, it was like 2 winters ago, when it was like really leaning.
Yeah, and I don't think I really have much issue with that. And we talked about some of the ones, again, near your power line here too. Right, right.
But to be honest with you,
Branches and all.
I would probably leave those, because if they fall and they take out the power, then, you know. I really don't want to take the trees out, but I have to do something to, you know, I mean, I'm responsible for maintaining safe access to Suzanne's house.
When we were walking along this road, though, the prime motivation for doing that was to make the road wider, right? Like that was the big issue, right? To make the road wider?
I don't want to make the road wider.
No, I'm sorry. Make the passage easier for people to go up and down the driveway.
So it's hard to explain. A lot of people say if you take down the trees, if you're driving and you hit a tree, if that tree wasn't there, you'll go into the swamp. And that's kind of like the premise, the concept. The reality is, you just hit the tree. You're not going to go over. The trees are just that close. Some of them, like 3 of them, are really, really close.
Right.
So you just hit it, but you're not actually going over the embankment.
Right, the trees are kind of coming up out of the bank, essentially, straight up. So,
Yeah.
but if they're on the edge of the bank and you take those trees out, how much real more, what kind of clearance are you talking about? Are you talking about the mirrors in a truck? Like what, we're not really widening the passageway that much by taking out the trees. I mean, unless you have some really wide mirrors.
So I actually, the thought of having you guys back my truck down that road so you could actually, you know, some of them are just so close. Like when you're backing up, so when I drive down that road, I have to back up. There's no place to turn around. So when I'm backing up, you know how it is, it's you kind of go off a little bit, and the tolerances are incredibly tight. So
Is there nowhere down there that you could create a turnaround?
No.
Nowhere.
So she drives down and backs out every day?
No, she drives down, but she goes onto her property in front of her house and she can turn around.
Okay.
So you can turn around, but you literally have to go right in front of her house and do a 3-point turn to turn around. So you're basically going onto her property, you know?
There were a few of the trees that, like, here's the edge of the driveway and here's the tree trunk. And I don't have as much a problem with those, but seemed like there were a whole bunch that were, you know, a foot or two further back, and that I thought those
would stay.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right, the ones you're clipping are the ones that, based on where your tire is in relation to the gravel, it's the overhang of the vehicle, right?
Right,
So
right.
if you're bringing down a Subaru, it's probably not an issue. But yeah, if you're bringing down a UPS truck, yeah, you might have a problem.
Well-
Or something with dualies or whatever, right? So yeah, you're going to have an issue, right? But I think it's the ones that are super close that, yeah, may be a problem. But again, you're looking for tolerance, and we're giving you an option to gain your tolerance on the other side. We think that's a fairly reasonable option.
And then what about where it pinches right at the end?
Well, and that's, that might be where we have to come to a reasonable.
I think if you go into that embankment, you're gonna have to put in a wall or some type of retention, because, like I said, when we started this project, I didn't want to build these walls because of the cost of it. It was just very expensive. And we got into it and we decided we needed to put the walls in just because we couldn't make the slopes work. So we actually got a revision on the order of conditions, and we put these walls in.
You're talking like this wall right in here?
Yeah. Yeah, there's that one.
The one that's right on the front end there.
Right.
Just right here.
Yep.
So I guess, yeah, I
You'd
think
have
what
to-
we're proposing is, do you extend that down? And I don't know, I don't quite remember how much, well, you can see based on the graduations, it's not quite as steep over here. You might not need it all the way down to the very end, obviously, but what would it be? What do we get, an inch? What do we got? And of course, it's a copyright, so probably not totally correct, but what is that, maybe 25, 50 feet long if you were to extend that down? But it looks like it's going to gain you, probably 3-4 feet there at least. Again, if you just bring this straight down from where it is, I guess.
Yeah. I think once you start going with it, it's gonna grow in scope.
Well, then I guess the other option would be, so you take out all the other trees on the other side, and then you extend the existing retaining wall here, what is it, 200 feet all the way down along the side of the road so that nothing falls in? I guess that'd be the other option.
Well, and there may be some other engineered solution on the wetland side that's available, but I think having a different set of eyes look at the trees on the wetland side. Maybe it's taking out every third one and replanting it with something smaller a little farther away.
Right.
So that the bank keeps its stability.
I really only saw two that I thought were way too close.
Yeah.
2 trees that I thought were way too close.
One of them's gonna fall anyways, right? The one at the end.
I don't know.
There's a healthy one that has been hit, but it's not dead yet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's,
the one way at the back. The far end.
it's kind of in the middle of the run,
Yeah.
and it's just,
Oh, in the middle of the road,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
I
practically
see.
grown up on the road almost.
yeah, I mean,
Well, so to take a really critical look at the trees on the wetland side and decide which ones you absolutely need or want gone
on the wet,
on the wet side. And then do some strategic planting, because roots in the soil are really what prevent
right.
the collapse of your right-of-way private road.
Well, the plowing is not good, you know, I mean, and it's not just here, I don't know if you looked around, it's all those roads, that stuff moves around, and it's when it needs to be plowed and it's not frozen yet. Stuff gets moved.
Sure.
And to be honest with you, I hadn't been out there, and I was gone in January, and somebody else was plowing it, and I was shocked. I mean, this stuff is, I went down there afterwards, and most of that stuff is like on top of the leaves, so it gets knocked off of the road, but it was on top of the leaves, so it was easy to, so I need the time to get it up. But I mean, the plowing is an issue.
Well, it's a really constrained site, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And while we have a lot of concern for your safety, we also have charge over that wetland. And you come first, obviously.
So if you were to mark the trees that you think have to come down, especially those ones that are right there, I'd be willing to do another sidewalk out there to just to see which ones you feel you have to take and which ones we'd be leaving, negotiate that way. But
And I still think that you can take a little bit out of that slope without getting into retaining walls, and just to give yourself a little wiggle room.
in that narrower
In
spot.
that very narrow spot right there, yeah.
Which is right at the end of that wall, is that it? Or- So what would you do? You would just continue that wall? Or?
I don't think you have to continue the wall. I think you just need to remove some of the, well, we'd have to go out there and take a look at it.
Because it's a slope, right?
It is.
And once you cut into that slope, you have to go and you sort of have to regrade,
Yep.
And then, I don't, we cut into that slope, I ended up with a lawn, and
I'm sorry.
I'd rather keep the slope not altered, but if you feel it's important, then I think the way to do it is just to chop out a foot or two and then continue the wall versus regrading the whole slope.
Right. Well,
Or just take some rocks and,
maybe it's just, it's worth another look and to try to, I mean, if it was an easy solution, we would have found it, right? Already.
yeah, I mean, it's been going on for years and years, And I wouldn't be opposed to like bringing the fire department down so they can actually look at it. And, to be honest with you, I would prefer, my solution would be just take out the worst offenders down there and just try and make it work with as minimal impact as possible.
And not try to get into that slope at all.
You
Well-
gonna take the one with the roots exposing out, or would you end up leaving that then too, you think? I'm just thinking it's gonna die eventually
Right.
anyways, because you're gonna keep hitting it with the plow.
You know what, I think that I'm gonna probably try and find somebody that knows these trees very well and have them give me an opinion on. I think that one tree is gonna have to go. And as soon as that tree goes, the small one next to it is gonna have to go, and then the very large one is exposed.
So that's this clump right here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and then you may end up having to do something about that slope.
Right.
Yeah. But I think what I'm hearing is if you can mark with a different color ribbon.
Or de-ribbonize the others.
Or take, that we could come take another look. Or I could go look. Whatever you guys
I could come
want.
with you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we'd all be interested.
Mhm.
So I won't be here this weekend.
Yeah, and we have a conference
Yeah.
this Saturday.
That'll give me time to. You
All
know,
right.
I think Suzanne will be able to be around. If
Right,
you push it
well-
off a little bit.
Yeah.
And it could be that some strategic tree removal and replacement on this side will give you the room that you need and the sense of safety that you need, and our oversight on wetlands.
Right.
I think all those things can be met at the same point.
It'll give you a little more time too, because you seem a little bit back and forth on some of them, so it'd be nice to get better.
Yeah,
things.
I mean, I think it would be good if like, the fire department could give an opinion on, you
Well,
know,
I think Chief Pedrassi's been out there a couple of times, hasn't he?
he has.
Yeah.
I think he kind of feels like he gets put in the middle of it, you know? And so I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to do that, but
Well,
the issue is getting a fire truck through there safely.
and he would be the one who would know if he could do that. So
Right.
if that's just the question that you're putting to him, that doesn't really put him in the middle.
And he probably already knows
Yep. He might.
if he's been out
I
there.
thought you said he could get down there, but there was just like, was it one piece of equipment he couldn't, he didn't think he could get down there? What's-
So it's always been kind of like not really formal conversations, and there was some emails traded a while back, and he responded and said that he could get down there. He responded to you.
Mhm.
He said he can get down there. Well, I called him, and he said, well, I can get down there, but I can't get certain equipment down there.
Okay, yeah, I remember you mentioned something about that, okay.
And so would he respond to a fire at Suzanne's house, or would
So-
Littleton?
He would.
He would.
There's an agreement that
Okay.
Ayer will respond to her house.
Okay.
They should annex that to us,
Really? Absolutely.
just like they did in the Berkshires.
Well, do you want to call the chief, or you want me to call the chief? I'm happy to call him.
Maybe we can invite him to the next walkthrough, is that it? Or-
I'm not sure how happy he'd be about coming out on a Saturday, but we can invite him.
So should we schedule the site walk? Another site walk that,
Sure.
go out and take a look?
Yeah?
I mean, I'm there, I can be there for the fire chief if he wants to come during the workday versus the weekend.
Okay. Well, do
Does-
you want to call him on that, or
I
you
can
won't? Okay.
Even I could make that one too.
Yeah.
If he could do a weekday, John or I could also
Mm-hmm.
be there, and then we could also do a
Yeah.
general one.
Yep.
Do you want to talk to your tree guy first before we do the sidewalk?
Before we
So
start.
I don't have a tree guy.
Well,
I don't have somebody that's like an independent, like consultant that doesn't cut down trees.
Right.
You know, it's hard to find,
yeah,
you know?
Sure.
But I have the Boxborough company. They,
I'll see if I can find you a list of independent arborists. Find a few.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
So you want to schedule it?
Mm-hmm.
Schedule a walk
sure.
for, not this weekend, but the following?
7th? 8th?
Is it the
Seven.
7th?
7th? It's already into March.
Oof.
9 AM?
I won't make the wrong turn this time. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll try not to follow you.
That's right. Well, don't follow me. Well, we truly appreciate your patience on this. We're trying to find the best.
It's not an easy,
It's not.
it's got a lot of history to it. And
Yeah,
so I appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
absolutely.
I just have to get to the right solution that's safe and
Yeah.
you know.
So the area that could potentially have a turnaround, that's Suzanne's property? Or there's just no place down there? It looked to me like there was, we should go past the area that's pinched.
Like where the snowplow is sitting?
Yeah.
Is that on your, that's on Suzanne's?
And she's opposed to putting some type of gravel turnaround.
Well, we've never really talked about it, you know. We don't, to be honest with you, I just don't want to do any more earthwork anymore. It's been so much work that,
Yeah.
you know, and then just the erosion control and the concern about, you know, the runoff and whatnot.
Yes.
And then we would have to go through the order of conditions, and then I don't believe that area is wide enough to actually get a turnaround.
I don't mean drive around, just pull in, you know, a 3-point turn, like 7-point or
17 point.
I mean, I've done it in my truck. I've done like a 7-point turn. And,
Yeah.
You know.
But just to formalize it a little bit, make it a little bit cleaner and easier for people to not to have to back down that little treacherous area.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Well, we can look at that too.
I mean, I'd be up for it if you know.
Okay.
I mean, it would help us. It's just.
Yeah. Something extra.
Yeah, I mean, it's just more.
Yep.
There's no, on my property, there's no land to take to
Yep.
replicate if it ever came to that. You know, it's just a very tight site, you know, and I don't think that area is really that wide.
Okay.
There's slope to it too, so.
Yeah. All right, we'll come out and take a look.
Okay. So what was the date on that?
March 7th.
March 7th, okay,
9 a.m.
very good.
Good.
All
All right, thank you.
Thanks for
I
coming in.
appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry it took so long. Thank you. Sorry.
Next one is public hearing continued, NOI 270 Woodland Way, David Grubb. Good evening, sir.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Great.
We don't have a DEP file number
We don't. No.
on that. That was interesting to put eyes on your situation.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you guys came out. It's helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Your ice rink melted now, it's back to a pool.
Oh, we're like a mud pit now. Yeah, that's really great.
It's probably about that.
Yeah.
Is it still full of water or is it?
It is half water, half just muck. Yeah.
Well, it should be ice skating condition after the next couple of nights.
Yeah, it'll refreeze and then it'll rethaw and then, you know, it'll be a mud bowl until May. That's how it was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
the underlying soil in that hill doesn't help matters any.
No, we have terrible soil drainage compounded by just
All-like
it sits there.
conditions, yeah.
It just sits there.
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to move that along, I think would be helpful. And honestly, I think the visit was really helpful too, because I think it let us get a better perspective of, you know, if really focusing more on, if you're standing on the deck, we had kind of like just envisioned, man, we're gonna have to do like the whole thing. So I think it was good perspective, because now from having your guys' perspective, we're really looking more on the right side, you know, digging that out and not even touching where it grades off on that left side, because that's just, we're just gonna hope the natural flow continues to.
The left side meaning towards the shed.
Correct, yeah. So I can't remember who it was, but somebody had proposed the idea, you know, you kind of build up by the shed and let it meander off and back out into the woods, which I think would be really helpful, and honestly takes a little bit less burden off of us, because we were envisioning a little bit of a larger project, and I think, you know, by digging out the side that bowls and just letting that natural continuation flow, I think would really solve the problem, quite honestly.
Yeah, I didn't really think that near the shed, you know, beyond your lawn area now, it doesn't really look like you need to even touch that because it's already below.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, and you know, hearing that feedback made a lot of sense. I mean, obviously we drew that plan up not being, you know, exactly, you know, very experienced in that, but I think that was really helpful.
I guess the only concern I do have is, I know when John, we were looking at where you have to carve out in the embankment, however you want to call it, describe it, on the right side of the house.
Yeah.
That, you know, an overzealous dozer person could get a little crazy and
Yeah.
kind of created a bigger mess for you potentially. So, yeah, I'm just somehow or another that, I don't know, do we need to have it engineered a little bit better or something so that it is done proper?
So just for whatever it's worth, the contractor that we're using, he has walked it and he's cited it, and he's actually the one that recommended we stay as far away as possible from that tree on the corner
Yep.
because he wants to make sure we don't damage the root supply of it. So I do think, I think he's very sensitive to that, and we obviously want to keep that tree too. So,
Yeah.
you know, we are certainly not intending or have any expectation that it would encroach on anything that would do any kind of damage to that.
Where was that tree? That was about here-ish?
So this is you know, the current how it is, and it's kind of up on the top of this.
Thanks.
And there seem to be some, I don't know if it's ledge or just rocks, but there's
Yeah, there's quite a bit of boulders just in that development in general.
just boulders.
Yeah, because we had dug out a few where the shed currently is actually, because honestly, Luke actually did the site prep for us on our shed, and yeah, he was able to come in and just quickly dig out the boulders that were in there, and we envision that, you know, we'll run into quite a few boulders, and you know, like I said at the site visit, I've already arranged with Luke that he said he's glad to take any of the materials and repurpose it within the development.
But he can't do the work.
I think he's got his hands pretty full with the site, honestly. He wasn't quick to volunteer to do it. I'll say that. You know, and we have a trusted person who, you know, we have worked with in the past, and we have full confidence and trust in. So.
Any other commissioners have comments?
What about the area where you want to expand the lawn?
So that would be just, you know, the area that we are able to dig out and create that grading, you know, to avoid it just being a mud bowl. We are hoping to put seed on that, but with the understanding that within the buffer zone, we would strictly put seed down. We're not looking to put chemicals or fertilizers or anything like that. So that would be what we would hope to do, simply to not just have it rest there as mud, quite frankly.
Stabilize it.
Exactly.
So you'd be raising the grade in that area, right? To in the mud bowl.
It'd be lower.
So it would be lowering it like gradually away from the house.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it'll make a big sort of a sweeping cut into that,
Yeah.
to avoid the tree and.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with any hope, multifold, you know, take the water that kind of rests right at the footsteps of our deck all the way back, and it would take it out to the rear of the property, but it would also cut off that flow of water that is essentially going to dump right into what will become our neighbor's property.
Right.
Because when we moved in, that's what we ended up with. So I know how inconvenient that is, so I don't want to leave that to a neighbor. So we'll just, you know, we'll take care of it, because obviously nobody else has taken care of it.
Make sure you tell them. Make sure you let them know.
They'll know. But the thing is, truthfully, I do feel kind of bad, because I feel as though Luke is kind of stuck in a rough spot, because we kind of talked about it, because I feel like of all the people that are involved in that development, not to speak ill of any of them, but Luke is clearly the more competent side of that, but he takes his orders from others. So, there's only so much that he's able to
I know.
help us out with.
Yeah.
And he actually did come back and regrade a part of our side yard where, they built the house up next to us. So he actually did come and soften that a little bit when we first moved in. But that was really as far as he was able to go without probably hearing it from others. But so he's been helpful. It's just now we're at that step that we have to take it over and make it right for ourselves because the development's kind of washed our hands of it.
Any other comments?
So, George, I think you're kind of going here, hopefully, possibly, the amount that you're going to end up seeding.
Which is getting below.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that, you're going to go probably a lot further than you really need to. And I think if you kind of just really create more of a swale, and maybe building up this portion, building up around your shed to get this flow that you're currently having just behind your house, just a number of feet back. I think is more than sufficient. And then, again, I'd really be concerned that, and I know unfortunately, you went in and you started cleaning stuff up and everything, but, trying not to do that, trying not to create a larger grass area, and really just kind of create that kind of indentation to kind of direct that flow, and not so much a large swath, but really just kind of create that channel when it's heavy.
No, for sure. And I'll be honest with you. Obviously, there's also the selfish part of us that we are going to be investing this quite heavily financially to correct this ourselves. So there is also a part of us that we are hoping to also gain a little bit of active land space for our children and for our own use. That if we are making that kind of a financial investment, that there also is that benefit for us as well. So you can see on the plan, we're not going any closer than I think the closest we get. I know we don't encroach inside of 50 feet. I don't have the plan in front of me, but
54 feet.
Yeah, so 54 feet would be the closest we're getting to the wetland. Well, 46 feet, I guess, because 54 feet away from the wetlands. So that was one thing that we did try to stay cognizant of too, not not abusing it. We wanted to make sure we at least stay outside of 50. Because from what I understand, that's obviously a more critical section. It's all critical, but within 50. So we are hoping to mitigate our water issue while also getting a little bit of land space that, quite frankly, when we purchased the house, we expected that we were getting, and for whatever reason, we kind of were misled and didn't get.
Right. Yep. 3 kids. You want a little bit of elbow room back there, right?
Yes, we do. And less mud when they come in would be great. Yeah.
So we did have a sign in the post somewhere, like sitting sort of in the middle, didn't we?
There are 3 kind of sprinkled throughout that they had placed
Are we
in.
going to leave those there then? Or?
What?
Because if you end up planting grass, I'm assuming he's going to cut the grass. So then it kind
I
of
think we'd have
defeats
to
the.
have them moved.
Okay, that's just kind of wondering.
Yeah, so I know honestly, they're kind of inconsistently placed in the neighborhood anyways, because there are actually houses within our neighborhood that the post is literally next to the blue marker.
We know.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so where ours is, they're not proportionately placed, I'll just say that. So, we're certainly not opposed to just redigging them and posting them to the edges of what we do. We kind of talked about this, I know my neighbor talked about it, because we were kind of taken aback when they appeared anyways.
Surprise!
Nobody really shared with anybody in the neighborhood that people would be coming on our property to do that. But we would be happy to relocate them. Yeah, they would look a little silly to be in the middle of the yard. But much like the neighbors who have already done things, or for whatever reason, their posts were put at the edge of their yards, which in a lot of cases are at the blue marker.
That wasn't right.
Not right at all. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. One house is literally the blue marker, and the post is next to the tree that the blue marker is wrapped around.
I know, and that's because without a local wetlands protection bylaw, that's something that can legitimately happen.
Yeah.
Is that the disturbance can get astonishingly close to the blue flags.
Yeah. Well, now that the blue flags, they've reflagged them, I think kind of because of, what we were requesting. It's clear that some of the houses are actually, if you put the post would be in front of the house. So we were kind of surprised by that. But, so we're hoping that, with any luck, we can, work with you guys and get this accomplished.
Poor Brady. 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
We just order conditions then?
Well, we can't issue until we get a DEP number. We can be ready.
Drafting.
Yeah.
We could vote to provisionally approve it pending the number and then begin drafting.
We could do that.
What she said.
Right. That's my motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes. And when are we going to expect a DEP number?
See, I don't know what's up with we're waiting for a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And I'd say for this one, could put in 3 project specific.
Mm-hmm.
One would be to memorialize in writing the no use of fertilizers or chemicals in that area.
Yeah, no problem.
The second would be relocating the posts. And a third would be just underscoring no further removal of
Yeah.
dead material.
No problem.
beyond
You
that.
got it.
Or additions?
You got that too.
Or what?
Additions from your yard.
Oh.
Funny thing is, and this is not, I guess it's not funny, but one thing was added, and it wasn't ours, but we noticed over the course of winter, through all these, we've had like crazy windstorms, it's always windy up there. Somebody's Christmas tree is back there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's not ours. Ours went to my work, got thrown in the tree pile.
Yeah.
So somebody's Christmas tree's back there.
We definitely don't like Christmas trees, but.
Yeah, I noticed it back then, I was like,
Take it to the dump.
yeah, we'll get that removed. And I was like, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Cole was excited about it, he thought it was cool. He asked if we could plant.
Plant it.
Of
Yeah,
course, because, yes, he planted a lot of
he does, he
things.
plants a lot of sticks. He thinks
They'll have a
they're
great
great.
time playing out there.
Yeah,
In that little
yeah,
area.
yeah, I definitely think so.
Could be opposed to, again, once you get your grading done, then, on the wetland side of your swale, or put in maybe a couple additional new trees then.
Yeah, for sure, we could definitely do that. And I would probably ask for your advice on what's appropriate,
Yep.
natively.
And I think remember I mentioned, there's a couple little pines.
I
maybe
do.
Trying
I
to
do.
pick those up and re-put them around.
My son and I actually went out and got a couple of them when it was like 60 degrees on Sunday. So we kind of tucked them in the back, so.
Nice.
We've got a few more to go. There's actually more out there than even I.
Yeah,
You never look at them.
Yeah, you find these get down there, they're all over the
Yeah,
place.
he's really excited about it, so.
Yeah, no,
we'll
that's cool,
definitely do
because
that.
they'll come back in
Yeah.
the spring, you'll be surprised.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
you really get a couple of feet out of a pine tree a year when they're little like
Then
that.
he'll be psyched about that.
Yes.
Yeah, he'll enjoy
yes.
that.
That's great, thank you.
Hey, Mark, where were you saying you wanted a few new trees along the?
So
swale
again,
near the shed?
basically, kind of helping to get on the other side, in front of that 50-foot buffer once he's done with his swale arrangement or whatever, regrading.
It would probably be good to put a condition about inspection before the grass gets planted.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Typically, when you guys do these, and there's this back and forth on this, is there some, because this is like a preliminary site plan, and if some things have changed, do you like ask for like a sketch or like a revised sketch to kind of have something in understanding? Because there's like in terms of what's being carved out or how far grass is going back, or...
Yeah, we could try to
No,
update.
I'm just asking,
Yeah,
just
we
a
can-
general point, I don't know.
Would be nice.
Yeah, for this one where it's simple, we can update the plan, I think. Change the date, it would just be a
Sure,
revision.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, yep.
And maybe even, as we talked about, right, so the dirt you might take out, like kind of show some of the grading around the shed. how
Yeah,
you're
yeah, you
gonna
definitely
slope
do that.
that off a little bit. then.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
So no one questions it later.
That's yours.
All right.
We good?
Um,
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so we did vote on that, and then we have to continue it.
Okay,
Do you have a motion to continue?
to March 12th, so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried?
So I likely may or may not be able to come March 12th. My wife's due March 11th. So,
Oh, come on.
So,
Well,
yeah. So we'll see.
okay.
You guys have an hospital, there's nothing for you to do.
That's true. Hey, maybe I'll be back.
Well, typically, you'll have showed them a draft.
Yeah, we'll go back and forth with the draft
All right.
order of conditions, and once we're squared away with that, they can just sign.
Yeah.
Cool.
You don't
All right.
have to be here, and then I will get them
All right, awesome. I
to
mean,
you with a
honestly,
baby present.
both boys were 10 days early, so I very well might be here. But you just never know. It's a girl this time, so
Oh.
everything about this has been
You have
completely
two little
different.
kids, and you're saying that your wife is going to have your third child 10 days before this meeting. You should not be here.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Good point. Good tip.
Well, thank you, David.
All right, awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
What is the continued wagon work? Did we see
No,
what we're gonna
it's
do
a,
there?
it's a public meeting
Okay.
for an RDA, we don't have to get into those. That's what George said in the past.
All right. We'll leave this seer.
There you go, Liz.
Okay, well, we were talking about that one, and in light of the condition we just put on solar 2, we like this, any new houses that are going in on Fingry Hill, can we add in a condition now that they have to put in the CR post before they close? Because in our special conditions, number 15, reserve the right to require additional conditions if deemed necessary, given their track record.
Put
I
on
know,
a
but we've already-
CR post?
Put it, where we've mandated those posts with conservation signs, no dumping and all that.
Oh, yeah.
That instead of those going in, a year after somebody's moved in,
Oh,
that we can say, hey, you need to get those in before you close. Not that that'll work, but
Well, I think all the orders for any house that's left up there
don't have posts.
are issued and have signs on posts. The orders have signs on posts.
What about the one that's going in right next to him? Now, that's an RDA though, the new one that's going in. I think that's an RDA, so,
I don't honestly remember.
looking at my map, I remembered.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I was just speaking.
I think once they get finished on this loop,
Yeah.
they're finished.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well-
Well, so there's that one more house down on Fox Run Drive out at the corner,
By the dog park.
but we have, the orders are already issued on that.
There's a one on Road to the Road, the wetland.
Yep.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
one's, the house is sitting there.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, our next item this evening is a public hearing. Notice of intent, Ayer Solar 2, DEP file number 2B assigned. Thank you for your patience.
Riveting stuff,
Is it, yeah.
mostly. Good evening, Nick Bond from GPR. Apologize from the Kyle and Cal show, as I like to call it. They both decided to take vacation. So I am the surrogate stand-in to discuss what I believe was left off at the first meeting, which was primarily the scope for the peer review of the project. That's pretty much all I have.
All right, so in your packets, there's a printed out draft of the latest version of the peer review scope.
That hasn't changed.
Not since I sent that to you.
Comments?
On page 2, the first bullet, says attend up to 2 meetings each year, your Conservation Commission. Should this say Conservation Commission and Planning Board?
You know, get rid of planning board.
That's to answer questions from the Planning Board and Conservation Commission. We have submitted an amendment to them. Don't know if there's questions outstanding, if they're retained. We didn't have a problem with that. I had a couple of questions, but I can wait.
So this, unlike our last review, which was done jointly with the planning board, this is just our review. So we can loop the planning board in.
Or take them out.
I think we add in more complication that's not necessary.
Yeah.
Unless you really want it, Ken.
No, I can't comment.
Up to 2 meetings, so just take out the word each.
Yeah, and reference of the planning board.
Answer questions from the planning board, answer questions from the Conservation Commission. So each and planning board are struck.
So answer questions from the Conservation Commission. So planning board and is taken out? Okay. The final report and recommendations to be presented at the second meeting.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, one of my comments is actually about this. Can we add public to prior meetings as well?
Say that again, please?
We'd like to be
Public
involved.
meetings?
Public meetings rather than private meetings or specific to commission and review agent. We'd like to be at them.
Wherever it says meetings, you want it to be public before.
We'd like to be involved as the applicant, being that it's a review, peer review. So we don't want to have meetings with specifically the peer review and the commission without us.
We could do attend up to 2 meetings of the Conservation Commission, comma, with the applicant present, comma. Well,
Well, would these meetings just be part of the continued public hearing?
yeah, they would be.
So, do you get to come to those?
I do.
Right.
However, previous ones, I believe there was a meeting where they came to the staff meeting, that the applicant was invited, any site walks, things like that. So if it's 2 meetings, that's fine. We just want to be clear that this is a situation where our services and the applicant's application is reviewed and it's on his dime, it should be open knowledge to the applicant as well. That's the only point, and whether or not it's 2 meetings with the conservation and applicant or public meetings, we just wanted to make that point. That's really it.
So how to say that?
Well,
To
Two.
public meetings?
well, they're public anyways, but it's like if we attend up to 2 meetings in order to ask questions of the applicant's engineering firm, sort of implies that you guys are there anyways, doesn't it?
Joanne will like that I'm about to say this, but you know what happens when you assume.
So is it a public meeting, or this is the public hearing that we're in right now, is it a public hearing?
It would stay the same and add and applicant after the commission there's a lot of different ways to address it.
Attend up to 2 meetings with the Conservation Commission and applicant.
That'd be fine.
But is it meetings or hearings?
Well, see, this is, the way that adding the applicant would work is if it's a site walk that they're invited, that's not a public meeting as per se, the public is not directly invited, but it constitutes a quorum.
Okay.
We just want to have a seat to lend an ear, at the very least.
So can we just add a line that says applicant will be invited to
Non-public,
any?
2 meetings with conservation and applicant.
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
Just the applicant?
2 meetings each, or sorry, I got each in there still. 2 meetings of the Air Conservation Commission.
With the commission and the applicant.
And applicant, yeah.
Because it wouldn't be a meeting of the applicant, but with candidates.
So it's going to say attend up to 2 meetings of the Air Conservation.
Attend up to 2 meetings with
With
the Air Conservation Commission and applicant.
with the Air Conservation Commission and applicant in order to ask questions of the applicant's engineering firm, answer questions from the Conservation Commission, with the final report and recommendations to be presented at the second meeting. And then we don't
Second
need,
meeting period.
we don't need respectively.
Okay with that? Thumbs up.
Very bueno, thank you.
And you had something else?
I had 2, but I can. Following that, roadway construction. It's probably a nomenclature, but this is a driveway, not a roadway. You know, just to get specific, you say road to me, I'll look in your subdivision rules and regs and applications and things. So specifically, the next roadway construction should, in our opinion, refer to driveway construction.
Right.
That's the first specific, but as well as everywhere else.
I've got, it's gonna be open till 11 and I can lock it before that. Good, thanks. Excuse me.
Orders.
How about access driveway?
Access.
You okay with that, Nick?
That'd be fine. It's just driveway would be more, I didn't look through the zoning.
What's it referred to in that
And it does say, because I looked at it today. Installation of solar farm of approximately 0.7 megawatts and associated infrastructure, including erosion controls, clearing of vegetation, retaining walls, buffer encroachments, wetland impacts, replication, stormwater drainage and management.
It does say proposed driveway in the narrative. Maybe you can go with
Paved
driveway.
and gravel driveway.
Okay.
I don't have the regs in front of me, but just driveway would probably be found in the zoning, whereas access way is still ambiguous.
So it's access driveway. Yeah, paved and gravel driveway, that's right.
So can you access A&R lots off a driveway?
Can you access a lot off a driveway? Yes.
An A&R lot?
Do you mean, can you get frontage from a driveway? No.
No, I know you can't get frontage from a driveway, but can you gain access to a lot whose frontage is somewhere else from
Yeah,
a
but that would
driveway?
need to even go through zoning board first to get frontage that's not on a roadway.
So any common driveway,
Yeah.
there has to be one property that the driveway
Has,
isn't on, right?
well, I'm asking because I don't know.
The short answer is yes.
Of course, the short answer is yes.
I don't know, that might be something an audience member might be able to chime in on, but I don't believe Ayer has a requirement that a lot has to be accessed through its frontage.
Do we have any audience members that can address that issue?
I can address it, but I'm as an abutter, so
It's just
I'm making
based
a comment
on
as an
knowledge.
abutter.
Just based on knowledge.
Okay, so in this particular case, they have an A&R lot that's already been approved.
Yep.
So the comment is, well, it's a question that has basically been answered in the past, that they do have frontage on one of the lots with an A&R lot. And in the past, prior to the zoning changes that came up recently, that could be accessed with a common driveway, not on the frontage.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case now. That oversight from the past has been resolved.
Okay.
So when this project came originally, that was the correct assumption and correct engineering, that yes, that driveway could be used for access to a common driveway used to a lot that had frontage on Washington Street.
Okay.
That's not, I'm talking about the Washington Street lot only.
Yes,
Okay. Not anything else.
great.
Okay.
That's
just as my local knowledge. I'm not sure why this commission's bringing that question up, though. It's really,
Oh, well, because it's parsing words. It's a driveway, it's an access driveway, it's a roadway, it's an access roadway.
It's 9:30.
I know. I just don't want to box us out of, yeah.
in fairness to the applicant, I believe all his applications for the Concom have referred to it as a driveway.
Yes.
Cons to your board. So
Yes.
that's-
You good? That's nothing else?
So we're gonna call it a driveway or an access road? Driveway?
It says access driveway here.
So in the notice of intent, it does, I was just looking at the narrative, but it does, oh, the long narrative? Does it say that in the long
It
narrative?
says proposed driveway. I think you can just go with driveway and move on.
Okay.
Driveway it is.
So you know, when he says yes, you're supposed to say no, right?
No.
When he says no, you're supposed to say yes.
I thought it was when I said no, you're supposed to say no. When I said yes, you're supposed to say no. No, I'm just kidding.
Just no to everything.
All right, did you have any other?
I had a larger one, but it's scope specific, not specific to the wording. Really, the scope is dealing with the entire property rather than leaving out the things that remain untouched. I brought this plan with me again.
I think Joanne had a conversation with DEP, and you can tell us.
Yes, DEP said because this is a new filing, It's essentially a new project, and the commission's charge is that they must, and that was, it wasn't mandated, it was must,
Okay.
that they must review the whole project.
So we also followed up with the state, and we completely agree, and this is gonna get into a roadway driveway conversation.
Okay?
It is a new filing, and the commission must review and issue an order of conditions for the entire project. That does not pertain to peer reviewers. The decision of the project and the merits that it's laid out in now is up to the commission. Now the question becomes, if the commission looks at the first 550 feet, Washington Street's to the right, and the green is the current proposed order of conditions, the red is the already approved order of conditions that we're trying to amend with this new order. All of the changes begin at driveway station 5+50. So the question becomes, if the commission has reviewed and issued an order of conditions for the red, which is underneath the green for the first 550 feet, what has changed as far as the Wetlands Protection Act, the local regulations that I don't believe are applicable to this filing? You have the bylaw, but there's no regulations. What has changed in those first 550 feet that would make the Conservation Commission change their mind about a currently valid order of conditions? That's the question we have. And the state, it's a question of not, is the commission only looking at the changes, period? No, we don't think that's the case. That's not what we're saying. We understand that this new order of conditions is going to be the entire project. Our question with the peer reviewer is that what is the peer reviewer going to look at in the first 550 other than it's exactly what was already approved and reviewed? That's our point and our question of why are we doing the whole project versus, all right, let's look at what's changed. So the primary changes, again, are graphically pretty easy to see. At station 550 is where you start to see red, and the green bends to the left where it comes down closer into the buffer zone. And then there's other changes as you get into the solar field where you can actually see the solar panels in red in the top right or the northeast corner. They're red because those are actually removed. And you'd actually see a few more greener ones in the southeastern portion where you can see, let's point to that, this area here where this is red and now the green is out to here. So the changes are, again, this alignment and then this actually being pulled back. Now there are, the tree topping and things as well, as we said at the last meeting we were at, where the two major changes are the driveway alignment and the tree topping. So again, why are we coming back to the 550? It's really one of those cases of, the next question is who is selected as the peer reviewer? If it's a new person, it's time, effort, and expense for their opinion on the first 550 that, again, putting aside all the other aspects and permits of this, just from a Conservation Commission standpoint, preface this statement with all this, we have a valid order of conditions, we could go build that now. I said all those other prefaces. So again, where would the change come?
Jess, go ahead, please.
Just one comment. So, I can see paring down the scope here a bit. It's me. But one of the things that has changed from last time is George and I were on the commission last time. Jen, Mark, and John were not. So I actually will be curious to see if they want to look, say, a little bit closer at the stream crossing or the priority habitat, the changes in priority habitat or estimated habitat that have happened since. I'm gonna see what, they now represent a majority of the commission, so that's one thing that very practically has changed. You're not dealing with the same commission.
Well, I appreciate that, and we understand that certainly, but with all due respect, the merits of the application should be judged based on the regulations which the commission uphold. It's not a opinion-driven decision, or at least it shouldn't be. Fair enough? So while I'm very interesting, I'm also very interested in, the new commission members' opinions and things as well. But again, with the regulations being the same, it's not like we're going to have an argument that, what was deemed white before is now black, for all intents and purposes.
So why I'm interested in a fuller scope, and again, newer person, so correct me if I'm wrong here, is it something that maybe was okay or allowed or within reason that was approved initially because there's such significant change upstream, not upstream literally, but like up the path? Will that impact something that was previously approved? Is the change that you made, the green section, going to impact? So that's why I think a fuller scope might be helpful at this point.
I guess I'm a little confused by your statement. The change up gradient isn't a use intensification. It's not like a 10-lot subdivision and we decided to make a change so we can get 20 lots or something like that.
Right, but it's moving and it's changing the path and it's doing different things, and anything that you change anywhere is going to impact things before and after, right? So that's just why I think that confirming that what was already approved is still good and isn't impacted by the other changes. That's, again, my thought on it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
The one thing that I might have a little bit of an issue with is the stream was deemed not significant, or
intermittent.
The intermittent stream was not wasn't deemed significant for any type of wildlife or any type of like a wildlife that's going to potentially use that corridor. I found that very hard to believe.
Well, and that's where the change in priority habitat and estimated habitat might come in and say something there.
Right, and it is also part, that intermittent stream is part of a mapped DEP wetland arc that starts at the wetland on the south side of the driveway, right? And goes up into Madigan Lane subdivision. Yeah. And I think the remapping of the priority habitat and the presence of steep slopes on the side of that roadway are a very interesting combination that really needs review. That's
additional review?
Yes, because it wasn't mapped as priority habitat.
So you're saying that the first 550 needs to be specifically looked at due to the changes of the habitat, relative to habitat functions or impairment?
Because of the priority habitat map change between...
But related specifically, so because the priority habitat changed, anything that we review in that area should be therefore related to it.
Not solely, but at least...
Well, again,
yeah, well...
if that's the change, then why are we rehashing things that are not changed?
No, we just said the habitat changed.
The habitat changed, so she wants to look at the proposed slopes alignment relative to the now habitat that is deemed over that area.
Right, the slopes,
the construction, the means and methods, the widths of the driveway aren't changed. So it's really The review of how that presence of that road and those potential slopes would interact with whatever is deemed within that habitat. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the crossing itself.
And the crossing itself.
From a habitat standpoint.
Right, as John was discussing.
You have some comments on this, George?
No.
Stay
No.
out of it.
I have a, I have a question that I would love to ask, and yet I'm not sure it's appropriate for me to ask it. So
What's
if
the
it-
question so you can decide if it's appropriate for you to ask it?
Well, that's.
No one else will listen, just go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I'm wondering why you don't want peer review of that first section of the project. Because that seems to be what I'm hearing, that there's great resistance to having that particular section of the project peer reviewed.
The largest component is cost. So there's a significant financial investment to the already reviewed permitted project. There is a legal aspect that is also a component that takes up cost and time. And it's just one of those things where now, not only do we have to repay someone to review the things, it's why are we paying the person, and which is leading to our next conversation of who we select for the peer reviewer, of why are we paying them twice to look at the same exact lines on a page? Now, I understand that the habitat has changed. Yeah, that something's changed, let's specifically look at that, no problem. But as far as alignment, width, slopes, stability, construction means and methods, costs is one. Second is when you have, I'll call it a Pandora's box for lack of a better term. You have a case where you're looking at something, and if it's a new person, a new peer reviewer, then they say, well, if you did this, this might change. And then we have time where we have to respond to that. And we're continuing to talk about an area that is, again, currently approved, very hard to construct right now, but currently approved as far as this commission is concerned, that we now have to, again, spend capital and expense in defending or reviving. So it's not just cost of, give us a cost to have someone review it. There's extra costs associated with that. So that's really the first.
So it sounds like you have a large concern that, there could be a different engineering perspective, and said, if it was me, I would have done it this way.
Right.
And then the commission's gonna listen to that and say, yeah, you know what, let's do it that way.
Potentially, and it comes back to the statement of the application should be judged against the performance standards of the regulations themselves. And while personal opinions certainly help those performance standards be enforced and come to light, sometimes those personal opinions start to creep the scope or creep the what is actually done.
Are we talking personal opinions of the peer reviewer?
Just in general.
So what was personal opinions are we talking about?
Anybody that is granting or reviewing the plans.
Okay.
So weighing out the options, because we haven't talked about who we would be sending this to. There is a gentleman who reviewed this previous. We would be more apt to say, yeah, if he already has eyes on it, is most familiar with it, we don't have as much of a problem going from the road through the whole site. When we go to another firm, if it is another firm, that's where we start to say, all right, we need to define the scope to get the what's reviewed done. That's as best as I can explain it, I think. Does that answer the question?
It does. I guess my opinion would be, it comes an opinion for you.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So my opinion would be that as long as you designed it to proper standards and you're confident that it, meets all criteria, there should be no concern with another review. Like you said, we're not anticipating.
See, I'll flip that on the other side. I'm pretty confident in the design, so why should we review it?
Because it's a brand new NOI and you acknowledge right at the beginning, okay, to do an NOI, we have to look at everything, and you told me, you agreed. You said, "Yeah, we agree."
You have to issue an order of conditions for the entire project, yes.
Right, which the commission can only do if they completely understand the entire project.
Because initially we approved the whole plan. We didn't approve the first 550 feet.
Correct.
So why should we then?
I could make some suggestions for a few areas paring down though. If anybody's, which I'm completely happy to be overruled by everybody else. But,
Such as what?
okay, so like on the first page, second area, this is just a wordsmith thing, but in addition to the above, that the second bullet, review wildlife habitat analysis submitted with the NOI in light, I added in light of the new priority habitat mapping from GSP, make that very specific. Conduct a site visit. I don't particularly see a need to review the location of the solar field. I mean, there's a plateau there.
Where, I'm sorry, where are you reading?
Conduct a site visit, the third.
First page.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ended after stream from.
Well, would you like me to push back against that or not?
Well, we can push back, I don't have to be, I would just say, I'm comfortable with taking out that, but
Well,
Just the solar field.
I don't see the need to evaluate the location of the solar field. Or what do you mean by location? Are you saying where it's actually put, or, because most of the location of it is outside of our jurisdiction, most of the array.
There's stormwater management that's, and the tree topping in the buffer zone adjacent
Tree
to
topping
the.
is a different matter, that's
Yeah.
separate from that, which we have that down later.
I'd be more comfortable if we left it in, but I don't get a vote, so.
See what others think, but I mean, we did have a pretty, I would be okay with the stormwater management section since it was reviewed before and we're not supposed to take that, but I'd be in favor of.
It's changed so much though, Jess.
Okay.
It really
All
has.
right, yeah, go with that, but I was gonna say maybe even having town engineer look at that.
Yeah, which you probably will do anyway as it comes through planning board, you think, but I don't.
Is this going through planning board again?
I think it might have to. Have you heard
Is it?
about?
It is? That's a, okay.
That was a yes. So.
Okay, so that would be an area where I would be willing to pare down, but again, other people need to weigh in on this, so you can yell at me or not. And then on the tree topping area, Mark, you might have a different opinion on this. I like the beginning sentence, and I like the last sentence, environmental impacts. But the stuff about electricity generation impacts, financial viability, I think that's a little bit out of our scope. I think that's overreach.
So I
But
don't
Mark might.
think so,
this
because
was-
I
this
think
was
the
from
idea
Mark.
is that the reason for the tree topping is to maximize production.
Yeah.
And I guess at the moment, I would argue that the tree topping does not create that much of a, or I'm sorry, I think the tree shading does not create a large financial impact and decrease or eliminate the viability of the project.
All right.
I thought the numbers showed in the packet that it was actually like 20%, but it seemed like it was,
20-25%.
yeah, a pretty significant shaking in that.
It doesn't say if 20% doesn't make the project viable any longer.
Okay, so do we just want the
And I-
detail on it?
And I also argue that I'm not 100% confident that the angle of the sun that creates the shading actually generates quite the amount of generation.
You're
Because
saying
as soon as
that-
you get off 90 perpendicular to the panel, you quickly decrease in your generation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I think having an independent person run the calculations that Rohit gave us through a different solar package, which is what I thought you were getting at with those comments. Let's just have somebody else look at it.
I'm almost willing or agreeing with Jess, given that the solar field is so flat and is so sandy that I don't see much water coming off that. That's just my opinion on that particular part.
For this, under the stormwater section you're talking?
Conduct a site visit.
Oh, that one.
That's just my opinion on that one.
Do you guys remember the notes that I gave you from the presentation I went to by our former circuit rider about siting solar arrays? She, as somebody from DEP, suggested that a commission really look at every possible aspect, especially when it's replacing forest. That we look at where the solar panels are going. That I know it's relatively flat there, but it's not completely flat. How the water comes off the solar panels, what we suggest for planting underneath the solar panels, that the commission really has a chance to review all of that when you have it.
Oh, I did and I read it.
Very nice. She was really adamant that.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, for myself, since I've looked at this many times before, I don't
Yes.
see it as a necessity on this one. So I would disagree on that.
Okay.
But
But do you
it's-
want to be able to talk about what gets planted underneath it? And
yes, that I can see.
Okay. So
Except that underneath most of it, that is outside of our, this wasn't taken up before because the array was largely outside of our jurisdiction.
right, but the whole project is going to be under our order of conditions.
Sage.
Didn't we have this discussion on another
Yeah.
project
I mean, like,
that, it was this one, I believe it was his boss that said that everything was covered under the order conditions. We said, no, it's not.
That's right, I do remember that.
wait, say more. I'm not remembering.
Yeah, about that.
But if something were to happen outside of our jurisdiction on a project and it impacted something that was in our jurisdiction, we were then able to address the source of the impact
Once it happens.
once it happens.
So we can do that anyways. But I don't know that that gives us more information in terms of doing an order of conditions for this new project that was also an old project.
You're shaking your head no?
No, is it you?
Okay.
But I'm just gonna sit back and take notes now.
Okay, and I'm gonna try to do the same, because...
And then let's say, since George isn't gonna talk more, and I'm not going to, so George, Mark, and, or John, Mark, and Jen, have at it. And Scott, if you want. Yeah. You can.
It's true.
I understand that there's the financial impact of this. Just out of curiosity, how much are you talking about for the total review of this package, this scope, this work right now? What's the estimated cost for as it lays out right now, if you could ballpark to
do
find
this peer review?
To do this peer review with an engineer.
Well, I know what the last peer review we paid,
What was that?
$3,500.
3,500?
That's correct.
For the total
site.
total
yeah.
review, and that.
But it was not this scope.
It was not the scope.
Absolutely
But was
not
it,
the
was it
scope.
similar or comparative? What did it involve? And what sort of stuff, the 4 different specialists listed here with a bunch
No,
of...
no. It was a one-man shop who, and I think I have it here. Matt is a soil scientist, professional soil scientist, but he's not an engineer. He's not a biologist. He's not a wildlife specialist. He has, why can't I find it?
It's done by Wetland Strategies and Solutions.
Matt Schweisberg.
And I don't personally know him. I know his website says that he worked for the EPA for 33 years, and working in habitat analysis, so on. And for the past 8, he's been in his private consulting firm.
As a matter of comparison, Scott, we did get some other bids at the time, and they were, one of them in particular was much higher in cost.
I think it was 12,000.
Right.
Scott, this was the scope, these four square bullet points, that was the...
So the cost can vary.
Right. Well, I'm hearing hardship, financial concerns. Just trying to put numbers on hardship. Just to know.
So Nick, just to put you on the spot, if you were to, somebody said to you, here's a scope, can you give me a ballpark of how much your firm would charge, given that we want these reviewers on the team?
I'd say we weren't qualified.
Even subbing out these other review?
Well, I can't, subbing them out, I can't come up with a, yes. They can charge whatever they want, just as we see by saying in our peer review here, 12,000, 3,500.
So as I'm reading this, what you're saying is that because things have changed, and to your point is, we're not selling one arm of a human, we're stamping off on the entire project, and the previous information involved 4 lines. And although we might quibble about little bits and pieces of this is the vast majority. This is markedly more, and most people agree with that. Okay.
So just in the conduct a site visit, as well as location of the solar field, are you more comfortable if that goes further up in the commentary? And I think is that not what we're trying to get at? Right? So conduct a site visit based on the location of the site of the solar field, paying special attention to the wetland resource area protection, blah, blah, blah. Is that, Joan, maybe what you were trying to get at? And just, do you have an issue with that?
Well, it was more, I read it as wondering if that was more saying the placement of the solar array in a certain location on the parcel should be evaluated. Was that what you meant?
I don't think that's what I meant. I just
I
wanted
think
to.
you're saying the solar field and the impact it would have on these various
Okay.
items. Right, maybe, sort of?
So we could say conduct a site to the proposed solar farm with special attention given to the, conduct a site visit to the project site.
Do you want to just say as well as how the location of the solar field impacts the aforementioned? Is that what you're getting at? Is it's not like we don't want the solar site to be here, or no, it's a bad place to put it. It's how does the solar site actually impact all these little things that we have concerns? Is that what you're after?
I think that's what I was after.
Okay.
And I'm
does that
not
work for you?
thinking, oh, we should put it up next to the street
Yeah.
instead.
It would look really
Yeah.
nice over there by the
Okay.
tree, yeah.
Okay, so if we're doing a site visit and we're looking at all these things, do we even need to say the location of the solar field? Like we're doing a site visit?
Right, the site visit to the proposed solar farm
To just site
project, yeah. Would that be better, Jess?
Yeah, that would be good.
Conduct a site visit,
Just take out as well as location of solar field,
yeah, and maybe,
just leave it alone.
location. Conduct a site visit to the proposed solar farm.
Conduct the site visit with special attention to given to the wetland resource area protection, habitat impact, buffer zone impact, stormwater management, road, driveway construction, wetland and stream crossing, rare and endangered
Driveway.
species.
Driveway.
Leave it alone.
Well, I would be completely fine with that.
Yeah, now I understand what you're getting at. I could see striking it
Yeah.
again, like Jess said, so
Yeah.
I'm okay. Then, yes, I guess, make it driveway.
Driveway.
Okay. I'm good.
Anybody else have any comments? Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, I only have two things, if you wouldn't mind, maybe, for the moment, two things. Could you go back and repeat what you said that the DEP mentioned to you and how it used the word must? Did you get that in writing from the DEP?
No,
Or a phone call?
it was a phone call, but I take notes on my phone calls, so.
So could you just clarify that again? And that was the question of the former notice of intent and, the former order of conditions being in place, and now a new notice of intent being put on the same plan, basically.
Yeah, the question I asked of our circuit rider was, whether the commission could review pieces of the project instead of reviewing the whole project. And her answer was that the commission must review the entire project regardless of what was permitted on the previous order of conditions. Yep, that's what she said.
So my follow-up question to that is does that mean that the first project has to be closed out in some way? That you have to issue a, certificate of compliance or something on the first one, or close it in some manner? That's my question.
Before we can issue the new one, the applicant will have to apply for a certificate of compliance because you can't have two sets of orders on one project.
Okay.
And the applicant has plans to address that.
The only other comment that I'd make, if I'm allowed, Mr. Chairman, is that, and this is not in particular to the project, but this is in more particular to the town's attitude regarding what's changed in the last couple of years, and that is the town in general has taken a much more active process and concern with the removal of trees and the work in wetlands and works in buffer zones and whatever other projects we've looked at. So I'm not saying that because it's involved particularly with this application, but I'm just saying that there is an attitude change in town about all projects that are this sensitive. So that's just a general comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, if we send out this scope of work, we get a bunch of polls back. Nothing says we have to award it, correct?
Say that again?
So we do get a number of proposals back and we look at what the cost is and the time commitment and things like that. Doesn't say we have to award it, do we?
No.
No, we could go fishing for another batch of proposals if we don't like any of the ones that we get.
Okay.
Yep. So you had asked that Wetlands Solutions be on the list. Anybody else who would like on the list?
No.
No?
One-man list is fine for me.
A one-man list. Good to know.
I believe the general shared sentiment last meeting was it'd be good to have a fresh set of eyes. I think that was pretty much shared by
Everyone.
everyone.
Well, I think based on the qualifications, it would have to be more than a one-man team regardless.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
well,
which isn't
be
to
a
say-
combination of whoever had it before plus others that he would sub to or
Yeah,
however.
right.
It's
He
possible, I
could,
suppose.
he could build a team.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there, again, being a stand-in tonight,
Or you.
yeah, that's fine. There is a strong sentiment regarding costs and rehashing and reopening and re-reviewing things. And against it, obviously. And where that continues outside of me, because I looked at their calendars, they don't have vacations, so you shouldn't see me again on this project, hopefully. Where that continues, I don't know. I do know, not to make it sound like a hostage negotiation or anything like that, I have been authorized to verbally grant permission, whatever, a peer review from Wetland Solutions up to 3,500 tonight, waiting for his scope budget back to try and get the peer review started, rather than wait 2 weeks, potentially to have estimates come back, and then wait another 2 weeks to select someone, so on and so forth. So as a time going back, that's what I've been authorized to offer, which, based on the scope as revised for the entire project, that would still be within what I'm allowed to do tonight.
You fight the good fight.
Thanks, man.
I think we're gonna say no.
Nice of you.
You
to
have a
offer.
job, I have a job, I say it, you respond. So,
Appreciate it.
I don't think I have any more cards left, so,
Okay.
And nobody's crying, so.
not yet.
So we're gonna move this?
Well, we're interested in who you'd be sending it to.
Well, I can get you that list tomorrow.
Joanne can get you that list.
So, as poured over, it's remaining largely intact with driveway substituted for roadway, and the 2 sentences we verbatim went through. The rest of it is staying relatively the same.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll also send you the cleaned up version of this, so.
You could copy it when you send it out. Copy us when you send it out.
I'd rather have you have a clean version before I send it out.
Fair enough.
At least 30 seconds before I send it out.
That'd work.
All right, so send
So time frame to send those out. And would you be able to ask them for estimates prior to the March 12th meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, if I make the list tomorrow, clean this up,
Send it out tomorrow afternoon?
well, we only work till 1 on Fridays, because we're here till 7 on Tuesdays.
Just limit yourself to 1 cup of coffee.
When I get home at 11 o'clock tonight. Yeah, I would think Monday morning at the latest, I will get this out. And it would be good to have a 7 to 9 day response time. So we should have, I would like to think we could come to the next meeting with proposals in hand.
Okay.
That seems likely.
Yeah. Because it's somebody's job to answer these things. All right, so send list to Nick Friday. Send scope to Nick Friday. Send proposals out Monday.
Request responses back by March 11th. That's the Wednesday before the meeting.
Yep.
How about a file number?
You get one of those.
2.
That's a nice number.
I too.
We don't need that just yet,
Not
because
just yet.
this will take a while. Anyway.
RFPs out Monday. Okay.
Any other comments?
Moving forward.
Motion to continue the public hearing on Air Solar 2 until March 12th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
I hope to see you again, but not on this project.
Like you said,
All right.
All right, next item. Discussion on regulations for air local wetlands protection bylaw.
I got yours. I got your hard copy. I got yours.
I have.
I think somebody
I have
was busy
one
with
for
meeting
you.
minutes.
War and Peace meeting minutes.
I'm still fried from the bylaw. But I almost made it to it today.
You'll get there tomorrow.
All right. Well, that's okay. They'll be busy Saturday. Probably Sunday.
I'll see you Saturday.
What do we want to shoot for on that? Some sort of a full and frank discussion on the 12th?
On what?
A full and frank discussion?
On the 12th?
Okay.
Yeah.
Compile.
Full and frank discussion. On the 12th.
Frank and Ernest.
Oh, Frank and Ernest both.
Do we anticipate getting through that entire list on the 12th?
No, I think we'll bring it out in parts. I think it's, you had described and sort of kind of leading towards with the shading and such. Let's focus on a couple main ones and work from there, I guess.
Should we put this nearer the front of the agenda on the 12th?
Guess it depends on what's on the agenda.
Make
Well,
keep
yeah.
it sit through.
Yeah.
Unless we want to focus on the 26th, which is more commission business. Would you want to go for that?
Although that doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, that's.
Well, although
But
we're
not-
gonna have to make it work.
So
Yeah.
I was thinking if we wanted to, where we have one meeting designated focusing more on commission business, in practical terms, it hasn't been possible to not do continued things, but maybe on that meeting night, we have the first hour, hour and a half for commission business and start with that. And then we continue with the other things after that.
Well, we'll get to it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so so we'll continue this discussion on the 26th, not the 12th.
26.
What?
Right. And we'll use,
Oh,
Because
yeah,
that's
we
the
do,
commission.
do like the
That's
first
commission.
hour to focus on that.
Hour gonna be enough?
I think so.
get us
It's gonna
started.
be a start.
I think if we
Yeah.
hit like top 3 or something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
We talk for an hour and we stop.
Then we just stop, right?
So as we're going to.
Do you want to pick the ones that will, pick the top 3 or 4 that you think have the most high impact that we can most likely agree on and
Yeah, based on,
rank order them? that
based
way?
on the responses,
Yeah.
you know, it can easily sort. So yeah, I think that would be,
Okay. Makes good sense.
yeah. And again, depending on where they all came together, it might be more than that because we might be unanimous on 3, let's say, right? So we might be able to get further down the list.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
26th it is, for full and Frank, or Frank and Ernest.
Full Frank and Ernest. How's that?
It's a comic strip.
All right, so, next discussion on the enforcement order at number 32 Central Avenue.
I did not like his response.
Oh, wasn't that an interesting response?
Oh,
Yeah.
This may be time to ask DEP to
Take this over?
weigh in, to step in, to, yeah, that response was just really, left me speechless.
in my unopinionated way, I would probably be in favor of possibly under the chair's name, sending an email that says, you have to come into this next meeting. And I would actually issue another enforcement order, including for non-compliance with the first enforcement order, which I think we can do. But just say, you know, please come in and be prepared to talk about your plans, or our next step is that we're going to hand this over to DEP. I would just have that as a step.
Mm-hmm.
Just say very clear, you know, you can't keep pushing this to the side. And actually, if we also wanted to address that little paving area which happened on Ruth Maxon's property, you know, you talked about having Ruth come in, but make sure that that's at the same time as Mr. Hillier, and just give him that, and if he doesn't show, if he chooses not to, then we follow through and turn it over to DEP.
At least talk to DEP first.
George.
Talk to them first.
Make sure see if they have any suggestions and if they agree with our approach.
Okay.
We don't want to threaten to use them if they're not going to come.
Right.
That's good thinking.
Okay, so, talk to DEP.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what they say, maybe we give them a threatening letter that says, here's your deadline,
Mm-hmm.
come in, or it goes to DEP, or maybe we don't.
Is it, here's your deadline, or as opposed to your deadline's come and gone? Because didn't we not already provide a deadline?
Oh, we did, the middle of March, last year.
Right.
Actually, but I think one of the MACC things that I went to a year or so ago did have where you can do an enforcement order on non-compliance with an enforcement order, which I think is called for at this point also.
Did we get that ticket book yet?
Well, we do, yes, George gave me his very own ticket book, but we can't, without
Regulation.
our real bylaw and regulations, it's just a ticket book in a drawer. Sad
Right.
to say.
And the real bylaw is still over at the Attorney General's office.
It is.
Yeah.
We didn't seem to care much care about the last enforcement order, so what's the point
Or deadline.
or deadline?
Well, I think eventually once that stops to become a paper tiger, you've built up a trail of multiple
Paper.
non-enforcement orders, and
Yeah.
you're saying this is now how we handle, enforcement orders, and,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that it didn't have the teeth when you got 2 or 3 even before, but now this is the 4th, and here's our new bylaw.
Yeah,
Mm.
That's
and
how I look at it.
once it's, the bylaw is official, and maybe we can fast-pace the regulation on finding. But yeah, if DEP wouldn't take it, and our bylaw is official, and we are issuing new enforcement orders, and it's like, okay, we can start finding you now.
So on the 26th, we'll look at the one focusing on intermittent streams.
And the issuance of fines.
Fines.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
has the Conservation Commission reached out with your concerns to the Board of Selectmen and asked them to intervene at all? I mean, I know you are an authorized board and so forth, but this is really the downtown air of eyesore that you're up against. And I would be a supporter of you guys reaching out to the Board of Selectmen with your concerns and saying, giving them a review. If you haven't already, you could have already.
No, Robert did ask for a timeline of our interactions with Mr. Hillier over this issue, which
I'm just offering that you should get more support, on this
Right.
issue.
Yeah.
And Joanne did give the town manager a byline or a timeline for our interactions on this issue
Right.
last year into this year. And I also gave a timeline for an older enforcement order we issued when he started to try to do this back in 2013.
Okay.
So, 2013. So there's multiple timelines now in the town's hand, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I can call DEP tomorrow,
Please.
and then we've got a meeting with Robert Tuesday afternoon about the North County Land Trust potentially helping out with
That's Tuesday or Monday?
the first day of the week.
Monday.
That would be Monday.
Okay.
Monday. And I see you on Tuesday, after I see you on Monday.
This is what happens if it's 10:23.
Yep, all right, so I'm the first domino down tonight. Who's next?
And so next week at some point we should get out our RFP on, or do we have to send out an RFP on pond treatments? So we get out the generic one to
Yep.
I thought you were going to do
any other contenders.
Yeah, I have
Find
to,
any?
yeah, if I can find any, and I just have to demonstrate that I looked hard.
Because we should start to try and get on their schedule
Yep,
soon.
yep. All right,
How many office updates do you need to do?
let's
Remember,
see.
and just be,
So here's Riley Jane Lane. That's our wetland soil on the left in a pile on lot 13.
Okay.
That's standing in what used to be the woods over here, looking towards, those are the mailboxes on Pleasant Street. I thought I might hear from them today about an inspection, so they must not have gotten all the way to the end, but they're making progress and they're staying within the limits of work.
Good.
Are those oranges, are they there or are those arrows you put on the picture?
Those are not arrows. They must be stakes
Okay.
for something, I don't know, the wetland crossing is up here.
Right.
Central
There
Ave
it is.
paving, there it is. I even got brave enough to call Mark Wetzel today and say, could you guys have possibly done that? Do you think? He said, we never ever pave aprons onto private property. It's a town policy. Good to know. This is the really awful looking pile of snow at the new gas station. They're plowing it all right up on the big grassy area next to the brook. And I've got to call Jesse Johnson, who's the engineer for this project, before we give him a COC and suggest maybe they find a different place to pile their snow, because it's really awful.
Yeah.
The West Main Street Bridge update in your packet is a letter from the engineer who takes the long way around saying this is less impact, the change that they wanted to make with the sheet piling.
Yep.
So it can be a field change. We got this cryptic little note in the mail today, saying, I went to cemetery on Bishop Road on Wednesday and was wondering why Donnell Construction was filling in wetlands behind the detail shop. Or can they do what they want in this town?
Wait a minute, can I take
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Why, who can? Who's in?
Hey, I thought my
The-
handwriting was pretty good there.
On the corner of Bishop Road and Fitchburg Road,
Yeah.
there's the car detailing shop.
Yeah.
And around behind, the wetlands come really close to the back of that building.
Sure.
There's a whole bunch of new fill behind the building. So I called them today, and she's coming in tomorrow. We'll have a little chat. See, send her away with a enforcement order. So here is the best news. This top one, also in the mail today, was the final approved conservation restriction for Kohler Place, signed by the Secretary of the Executive Office of Environmental and Energy Affairs. So it's done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna give it to Carly tomorrow and have her send it away to get recorded. And then we have to figure out what to do next with monitoring. And so this is really, really timely in light of North County Land Trust coming in on Monday.
Yeah.
Because we've got this one that now we can't really. George reminded me to look at 156 Washington Street. Their orders have expired, and this is the one that the file was not in the filing cabinet anywhere, so I ended up tracking down Michael, whose last name I don't even remember. So this is working its way up to the top of the list. We're gonna need the warrant article for weed control by the 26th of March.
Did you see I sent Robert the email
Yes,
after I got through my War and Peace minutes just the other day?
yes, yep.
So that's out of our control now, isn't it?
We still, meaning me, we still have to write the warrant article.
We write it? Oh, okay.
The budget book is replacing the town report, and I submitted our piece of that today. Sally from the CR, from the trustees, sent the PDF of that nice CR landowner handbook, so,
That was really great.
yeah, yep.
Good picture of her.
Yeah, yep. I went to an e-filing DEP training yesterday that was just completely overwhelming. The only two forms you can e-file are an order of conditions and an ORAD. And the obstacle course that they have set up for you to go, we're not going to be doing this anytime soon. North Country coming Monday, and conference on Saturday. And still not too late to sweep up your salt. So, that's it.
Any member updates?
Motion adjourned?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.